they near the end of their springs. The Dodgers, with Clayton Kershaw on the mound this afternoon, have won 4 straight NL West titles and are looking to win their first World Series since 1988. The Rangers have never won the Fall Classic, but they have plenty of talent on the roster as they look to make a deep run. The Dodgers and Rangers square off next from Surprise, Arizona. Welcome to Surprise, Arizona, the spring training home of the Texas Rangers. As they welcome the Los Angeles Dodgers, we're moving later and later into the spring. Can you believe opening day is just a week and a half away? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Surprise. Dan Shulman, Aaron Boone, Jess Mendoza. Very glad you're with us and very glad to be starting another season of baseball here on ESPN. Let's start with the Dodgers, the visitors today. High hopes as always. And on the mound this afternoon, the best pitcher in the game, Clayton Kershaw.
Dan, when we look back on this generation of players, I don't think there is a better player, not just pitcher, than Clayton Kershaw. Why? I mean, when he gets a baseball in his hand, it is magic. It is unbelievable what he can do, but what puts him above the rest, above any other player in my mind, is his relentless passion. This guy cannot get good enough. It doesn't matter his numbers, his accolades, everything that he has done in his career. The fact is he's always trying to get better. And this time of year is when it really stands out to me, because you'll see him in the game this afternoon get mad when he drops a curveball in the dirt, get upset or get passionate when he strikes out a guy. I mean, this is someone who is consistently getting better, and that is why he's the best of this generation.
A surefire Hall of Famer, and you know what? The Rangers have one as well. He maybe doesn't get enough acclaim for the career that he's had, but Adrian Beltre's on his way to Cooperstown as well.
He really is, Dan, and if he never played another inning, he's going to Cooperstown. That being said, the Texas Rangers are very glad he's still playing because he's still a great player, but this year, if he's able to remain healthy, he's coming up on some historic numbers. Just 58 hits away from the historic 3,000 hit club. You want power, 5 homers away from 450 homers. Doubles, runs batted in, runs scored, climbing the list of some of the all-time greats. But he's not close to being done. If the Texas Rangers are to reach their goal of getting back to the postseason and win a world championship, they need Adrian Beltre to continue to be the impact player he's been his entire career.
They also felt in the offseason they needed to go out and pick up a bat, and they turned to a familiar face. With more on that, here's Buster Olney.
Dan, Mike Napoli clubbed 34 homers, drove in 101 runs for the Cleveland Indians last year, the best numbers of his career, and he thought for sure he'd land back with the Indians. But Cleveland shocked the baseball world by signing Edwin Encarnacion, and Napoli landed instead with the Texas Rangers for the 3rd time. When the deal became official, Rangers general manager John Daniels told him, "I finally learned my lesson." Dan?
All right, Buster, thank you. Mike Napoli and the Texas Rangers, Yasiel Puig and the LA Dodgers here in Surprise with just 10 or 11 days separating these teams from opening day of the 2017 baseball season. Clayton Kershaw on the mound this afternoon. First pitch coming next. This telecast of spring training baseball on ESPN is brought to you by MLB The Show 17. Available March 28th. It is not your typical Arizona afternoon here in March. Maybe the cool weather has the Rangers all fired up as their infielders race onto the field. Aaron lives here. This is, he tells us this is not the typical day. It's a little cooler than normal. It's breezy, but.
Well, like 69?
We'll take it. We will take it. Here's the starting lineup for the LA Dodgers this afternoon, and leading off is a new member of the team, Logan Forsythe.
Yeah, and I think really one of the really underrated offseason pickups was by the Dodgers at Forsythe. He's in there at 3rd base today just to get a look, but you will see him routinely at 2nd base for the Dodgers. They think he's really going to help them against left-handed pitching and defensively. And Jock Peterson, he took a big step forward last year with that 847 OPS. His still struggles against left-handed pitching, but I think he is about to burst onto the scene and become a star in center field for the Dodgers.
On the mound for the Texas Rangers this afternoon, right-hander Dylan G, a non-roster invitee, spent last year with Kansas City, pitched both in the rotation and in the bullpen. Prior to that, 6 years with the Mets. He is in the running for a spot in the rotation. The Rangers may break camp with 4 or 5, not sure yet. They've got some off days to play with the first couple of days, but G is in the running for a spot in the rotation. Ready to go here in Surprise as Forsythe steps in for the Dodgers and takes a strike at the knees. You can see the camera bouncing a little bit. As we told you, it is really gusting right now in Arizona. Forsythe, who is at third base today for the Dodgers, has spent most of his career in the big leagues as a second baseman, and that's the position he will primarily play. Last year as a member of the Tampa Bay Rays, hit .264, 20 home runs. Coming off back-to-back good seasons, really took his career to a new level over the last couple of years.
Well, and the fact that you're seeing him in this leadoff spot fills a huge void for the Dodgers. Not only is a strong right-handed bat that can hit lefties, but also being in that leadoff spot and playing normally where he'll play at second base.
And another thing that it does, gets another right-handed bat into the lineup for the Dodgers, heavily left-handed, looking to balance things out a little bit by adding a righty and one at the top of the order.
Well, that was their bugaboo last year. For a team that went to the National League Championship Series, they struggled mightily against left-handed pitching. They've addressed that this offseason. Brought in Franklin Gutierrez, a right-handed outfielder. Obviously, Forsythe. They think Grandal's going to do better. Justin Turner, who's not here today, struggled for as great a season as he had. He had a struggling year against left-handed pitching. They expect that to turn around and be more of an aberration.
Lines it into right field, a base hit. Ryan Arua over to cut it off for the Rangers and hold Forsythe to a long single.
Well, he continues to have an outstanding spring as G tries to challenge him with a two-seamer that just kind of stays up in the zone. And Forsythe, there as he gets deep in the count, you can say that inside-out stroke, thinking the other way, and just shoots that ball to right field. A leadoff hit, I think over 400 for the Dodgers this spring.
So G into the stretch with the leadoff man aboard. The batter is Chase Utley, who was re-signed to a one-year deal by the Dodgers in the offseason. He'll have a different role, of course, this year than he did last year, with Forsythe, in fact, replacing him as the primary second baseman. Utley can play second, can play first, will come off the bench as a veteran left-handed bat. Dodgers were busy in the offseason, and almost all of what they did was re-signing their own players. They bring back Utley, they bring back Rich Hill, Kenley Jansen, Justin Turner. Bet you if you had asked a typical Dodger fan in the offseason, do you think all 4 of those guys would be back this year? They would have said no way. There's no way they could bring all of them back. And obviously the Jansen, Turner, and Hill deals, those are by far the 3 biggest. They also, as you mentioned, Aaron, they bring in Franklin Gutierrez. And how strange will it be to see Sergio Romo pitching for the Dodgers in games against the Giants this year?
Well, and what stood out to me is that some of those guys signed for less money because that's how much they believed. Utley was one of them, and Romo coming in had opportunities to go elsewhere for more. And I think it just kind of tells the story of what Dave Roberts is trying to build in LA around these Dodgers. Clubhouse chemistry. Get the right mix of guys that really buy in and believe.
And Dave Roberts, by the way, is not with the team today. Bob Guerin, the bench coach, is the acting manager today. Dave Roberts' father passed away very recently. The funeral is today, and Dave has flown back to California for that, and we extend our condolences to the Roberts family on their loss. 2-1 the count on Utley as Forsythe draws a throw.
You know, Jess, you mentioned clubhouse chemistry. And when you think of the Dodgers and Andrew Friedman, you think of kind of that sabermetrics. They're very into the numbers. They're very intelligent with what they do. But taking nothing away from what Utley did a year ago, because he was outstanding for them between the lines, but they brought him back as much because of what he brings in the clubhouse and the impact he has in that room amongst all these other players. They felt a premium to bring him back.
Well, who's their best player? Who's their best position player? Corey Seager. And who does Corey credit for a lot of the development that he had last year? And it was all Utley. I mean, obviously there were other components, talent being a huge one of them. But Chase was in his ear, you know, teaching him the stuff off the field, not the skills, but how to handle everything.
Driven to right field. Rua will turn and watch it go. Utley with a 2-run shot. And the Dodgers on top 2-0 here in the top of the first.
This at bat is highlighted to me more not in the pitch that Utley hit out, but how he got to that point and laying off a lot of the junk that really G was throwing at him with the changeup and the curveball, and getting a pitch that he could hit. And this is Utley at his best. You see that kind of shortened swing, how he doesn't get that full follow through. He has the ability, especially against a contact pitcher, to find what he needs to be able to get up and out of the park, but it's the pitches that led up to that where he didn't bite to get to the one he could hit.
So an early 2-0 lead for the Dodgers. Here's Jock Peterson, the center fielder. He swings at the first pitch. Fly ball left center. And making the grab out there is Jurickson Profar. Of course, played a lot of center field in the World Baseball Classic for the Netherlands. A guy who can just about play all over the field right now. And because he played it in the WBC, Jeff Bannister and the Rangers going to give him a look in center field here towards the end of spring training.
Well, and look, this Texas Ranger roster, they're going to be 11, 12, 13 guys that are kind of interchangeable, and I think Jurickson's Profar, especially what we've seen with his versatility now in the WBC, as you mentioned, going to the outfield, his ability to move around, I think will allow a lot of people to get in the lineup. And I think this year you'll see a lot of moving parts with that Rangers roster because of some of the versatility of Profar.
Jeff Bannister has led the Rangers to the postseason each of the last 2 years, losing in the division series each of the last 2 years. Yasmani Grandal, the batter. The Dodger catcher hit .228, 27 home runs a year ago. And he strikes out for out number 2.
G bounces back with a fly out and a strikeout. There was the breaking ball that looked like it kind of tied up Yasmani Grandal just a little bit. They want to bury that slider in on his hands, and they get it there. And that's a good bounce back for G, who is definitely pitching to impress and pitching to try and win a roster spot that he is in a tight race with to try and claim one of the final spots.
Yasiel Puig, the batter, skies the first pitch into right center field, and that will be the inning. A couple of runs across and the home run by Chase Utley. Clayton Kershaw will head to the mound for the Dodgers when we come back to Arizona. Surprise Arizona, the Dodgers leading the Rangers 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the first, and we get a chance to see Clayton Kershaw on the mound this afternoon. The guy who has been as good a pitcher, the best pitcher that there's been in the last generation or so, and of course a guy who's got a chance to go down as one of the game's all-time great pitchers. He has won 3 Cy Young Awards, 4 ERA titles, and MVP. Might have added in some of those areas last year had the herniated disc in his back not cost him 2.5 months. Still 12-4 with a 1.69 ERA last year. And in the live ball era, that's from 1920 forward, Clayton Kershaw has the lowest ERA of anyone. His next to last spring start begins with Delino DeShields facing him. And DeShields will take a little bit low ball 1. DeShields has had a terrific camp for the Rangers. A guy who did not have a good 2016 is looking more and more like the guy the Rangers saw in 2015. He has slimmed down. He's drawing walks. He's 9 for 9 stealing bases so far this spring. And he is in the mix for a spot in left field. He can also play out in center field, can hit at the top or the bottom of the order. Aaron mentioned the versatility that Jeff Bannister has. DeShields is a part of that.
Well, Dan, when you mentioned he slimmed down, I mean, he had bulked up prior to last season just to try to hit more home runs. It wasn't like he went and got overweight, or, I mean, he was in great shape, but he lost that speed, that kind of versatility element that he can have when he's of this weight.
Takes outside, 3-1.
And he's a guy that had to come in and frankly probably win a job. And I think so far he's doing that. Even with the depth that this team has, I think they really value his speed and the development he's taken at the plate.
On the outside edge, a full count.
He's got 4 more stolen bases than anyone else in the Cactus League.
Yeah.
He's been putting on a show. The last game he stole second, stole third. He knows what he's up against.
Strike 3 called. So DeShields the leadoff man as we take a look at the rest of the Rangers lineup today.
Well, Jurickson Profar, we talked about his versatility on D, but how about what he did in the World Baseball Classic with the bat? And this is a guy that's trying to get back to where he was when he was a top prospect. He believes he's doing it. Mike Napoli back with the Rangers, as Buster mentioned, and he had a career year last year with the power numbers and the biggest addition now to this lineup.
So Profar shaping up as one of the more interesting guys to follow heading into the 2017 season. Hit great, as you saw with the Netherlands, can play all over the field, infield, outfield, is a switch hitter. This is his weak side. He's better from the left side than he is from the right side. Right now looks like he could be the left fielder against righties, and also if anybody on the infield needs a day off, he could spot in there as well and probably get 4 or 5 starts a week, maybe more if he gets better from this side of the plate.
Yeah, and it allows you to give Adrian Beltre maybe a day off a week, or because he can play first base and because he can play both spots in the middle, it allows you to give guys, especially against, you know, if all of a sudden you want to give Rougned Odor against a tough lefty maybe a day off where he's played a couple weeks in a row, you slide him in, and because you have DeShields, because you have Rua, you have the depth that you really don't lose anything, especially when you play to the matchup.
Yes, he did. And Kershaw with back-to-back strikeouts to begin his afternoon. So now Adrian Beltre. You saw the numbers off the top of the show. I think for the casual fan, even the more than casual fan, some of those numbers might have been like, wow, take you by surprise. On the verge of 3,000 hits, 600 doubles, 450 homers. And that's not even talking about the defense. That's not even talking about the leadership. I mean, this guy has been a great player on many different levels for a long, long time.
He is, and revered, you know, as much as anyone in the game, not only just by his teammates, but the respect he has from opposing players. Been through so much at the big league level, getting to the big leagues as a teenager, and what a career it's been. And you know, he turns 38 in a couple weeks, and he's still going strong.
Kershaw strikes out the side in the first inning. DeShields, Profar, and makes quick work of Beltre, getting him on 3 pitches. Fantasy baseball is back. Go to ESPN.com/fantasybaseball or download the ESPN Fantasy app to sign up, draft, and follow your team or teams if you want more than one. Top 2-0 Dodgers on the home run by Chase Utley. Andrew Toles, the left fielder, will lead it off against Dylan G. Toles hit .314 a year ago. Got some duty with the Dodgers towards the latter part of the season, then continued to swing a hot bat in the postseason. Went 8 for 22, and as my friend Mr. Boone likes to say, he can square up a fastball.
He really can, and you think about the Dodgers and all the depth that they have. He kind of just forced his way in. We saw consistent at bats the entire postseason. Line drives all over the field, brings a speed element, brings some youth obviously to this team, but he is very much in the picture even with the depth that the Dodgers have in the outfield.
Yeah, guys, I think when Andre Ethier suffered a herniated disc, that news came out earlier this week, pretty much solidified the fact that Tolles figures to be on the team to start the season.
Still might have about 6 guys vying for playing time in the outfield. We'll sort through those possibilities a little bit later on in the game as time allows. Fouled off. Let's take a look at some of those possibilities in the outfield. So Ethier very likely to start the year on the DL. Of course, Jock Peterson will be the primary center fielder for the Dodgers. And right now, it looks like Yasiel Puig is going to be the primary right fielder. Of course, Puig a right-handed bat, not a left-handed bat. They bring in Gutierrez.
Van Stuyck is right-handed.
So they've got some of the which way they were hitting wrong there. So Van Slyke a right-handed batter, Gutierrez a right-handed batter. They figure to get some platoon at bats. Peterson figures to be in center. Puig will be given the opportunity to get a lot of playing time in right. Tolles in left. It seems like they've always had a lot of guys, and there are only 3 spots out there. But again, they've got different ways they can stack up their outfield.
And I don't think they're looking to just solidify it altogether. I think they like, obviously, the platoon options. I think they like the competition. They want Jock even to be pushed in center against lefties, and the idea that they can rotate him in and out, Puig, to kind of see where he ends up.
Well, they can play the matchup game, which they love to do. You know, each guy's strength versus that starting pitcher that night. They have options each and every day, and really strong options. But guys like Yasiel Puig, if he's playing at a high level the way he's capable of, obviously he's going to get the bulk of at bats.
Napoli backhands, Fields, and gets it to G covering for out number 1. Well, some big picture stuff for you here. Some of the big off-season trades in baseball, and I think the one that really got the most attention was Chris Sale changing the color of his socks, if you will, going from the White Sox to the Red Sox. The Nationals went out and got themselves Adam Eaton, moving Trey Turner back to the infield. Now gave up a lot to the White Sox to get him. A number of deals. Boy, the Mariners were busy in the offseason, including adding a lot of speed in Segura and Dyson. The Cubs get a closer in Wade Davis. Jorge Soler goes to Kansas City. The Astros are looking for a veteran catcher. They picked up Brian McCann. We talked about Logan Forsythe. Was there one of those moves, guys, that you feel either jumped out at you the most or will be the most impactful here this season?
I like Brian McCann, and I feel like because the Astros in general.
It's a fair ball. Big bounce past Beltre into the left field corner, and Chris Taylor slides into second with a double.
Obviously their lineup is solid, but there's so much youth, and even talking to AJ Hinch, the biggest thing that they needed was leadership. And yes, they got Carlos Beltran, but I feel like Brian McCann, what he brings for that staff, which that is the weakness, the 3, 4, 5 guys in that rotation, who they end up going to get. McCann is a leader, but he's also someone that I feel like brings together the only weakness that the Astros have, and I feel like they are going to be one of the strongest teams in the AL.
Yeah, I think it's Chris Sale. You know, obviously one of the best pitchers in the game, and especially when you consider the fact that David Price is probably going to start the year on the disabled list. How long will he be down? So seems even more critical that they went out and got an ace, but I think he slides in. I think he's a perfect fit in Boston, and I think that trade, even with the injury to Price, certainly makes the Red Sox the prohibitive favor in the East.
The batter, Charlie Culberson. Some players have an adjustment period to a city like New York or Boston. You guys think there's any adjustment period for Chris Sale going from the White Sox to the Red Sox, or he just steps right in seamlessly?
I love that Chris Sale. I think he's the perfect person because he's a different dude, and I think he's not going to let the media and let the fans and let the look at his track record and everything that he has done, and yet has never really apologized or felt bad, because that's who he is. That's the flag that he wants to wave, and I think the kind of performance that he has will not be affected by the Boston media and how they react.
We'll have to wait and see, guys, to see how Sale actually pitches during the year. But I can tell you this: in the days when I was in the Red Sox camp this year, to me, the way Sale handled everything with the media, the expectations, that could turn out to be a model, because he's not worried about pleasing the media. I can tell you this, some writers were almost complaining about him because they feel like that he's not giving them enough time. You know what? As David Price said earlier this spring, it's going to come down to how he pitches, and I think Chris Sale understands that as he goes into Boston. I think he's going to have a huge year.
And a great player who's just looking forward to pitching in some really meaningful games toward the end of the season, and he hopes into the postseason as well. And as Aaron says, I think most people looking at the Red Sox as the favorites in the American League East heading into the season. Culberson aligns the ball into left center. That's down for a base hit. Taylor will round third and come home. As the throw comes into second, the RBI single makes it 3-0.
Well, another pitch left a little bit up in the strike zone by Dylan G, who has not an overpowering guy, and that two-seam fastball to go with the slider and the curve and the change. You see that action, it just doesn't quite get down enough, stays up and in the heart of the plate, and Culberson able to get his hands inside that ball and just punch it into left center. Another run here for the Dodgers.
And here's Clayton Kershaw. So Kershaw will bat. National League team playing in an American League park here in spring training. The Dodgers are having the pitcher hit, at least when Kershaw is in there. And the Rangers are using the DH spring training, so you can do what you want to do. And if you're a National League team, obviously you want to get your pitcher some swings before the season starts. And Kershaw takes his hitting pretty seriously and hit 174 last year. Up there showing bunt right now with a runner at first and 1 out.
Did you see the monster hit that Jake Arrieta hit today? 465 feet.
Wow. And Kershaw will pull the bat back and swing away on the first pitch. Sorry, Jeff. 465.
Yeah, just pitchers that can rake, and it's fun. Exactly to your point, Dan, is how seriously they take it. Not all of them.
Hey, just don't get Buster going again. He's already saying, you know, Bumgarner and Syndergaard and Arrieta, and we'll have a home run derby and the whole thing, right, Buster?
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that, because the guy at the plate, when I brought that up to him last year, not a fan. Not a fan of the pitchers being in the home run derby. I can tell you that, because when I saw him this spring, it was the first thing he mentioned. Are you still on the home run derby thing?
Well, because if he's not going to win it, he doesn't want it to exist.
Kershaw using a Chase Utley bat right now. Don't know if it's the one that Utley used when he hit the home run back in the first inning, but maybe trying to get some good vibes off of what Utley did earlier today. Ground ball to short, to second one, and on to first for an inning-ending double play. The Culberson RBI single adds a run. 3-0 Dodgers going to the bottom of the second. Themselves when it comes to the career of Clayton Kershaw, about to enter his 10th year in the big leagues. He started 7 consecutive opening days, tied with Don Sutton for a franchise record. He'll break that this year. And he's had remarkable success on opening days and just about every other day that he started. But an ERA under 1, 44 strikeouts to 6 walks in 7 consecutive opening day starts. He is 126-60 in his career. 29 years of age. Remember, missed more than 2 months last year with the back issue. But when he was out there, was as overpowering as he's ever been. Rougned Odor leads it off. Kershaw incidentally struck out the side in the first if he weren't with us.
And now starting his first full year with Yasmani Grandal. Remember, A.J. Ellis, his longtime catcher, was traded late in the season last season, so had a lot of work down the stretch and in the postseason with Grandal.
Kershaw would have set an all-time major league record for strikeout to walk ratio last year, except the injury prevented him from throwing enough innings to qualify. He threw 149 innings, but he had 172 strikeouts and 11 walks. So his strikeout to walk ratio was better than 15-1, and one of the walks was intentional, so we shouldn't penalize him for that.
It's my favorite thing when we do a Dodger game and we do a Clayton Kershaw game, and I make out my little card of his stats. When I see his walk to strikeout,
double take.
Even though I know it's coming, I still have to check elsewhere.
And he has faced 4 batters and struck them all out in this game. The kind of numbers that he puts up are the kind of numbers that like future first-round picks put up in high school. Nobody's supposed to do this in the big leagues.
No, and there's a look at that fastball down in the zone. We've seen all his pitches so far. We've seen the curveball. We've seen him get strikeouts with the slider and the fastball so far in about the low 90s. But with that deception, he's able to really just make it hard on these hitters, and a little frustrated there, not executing how he wanted to Napoli.
A little frustrated as he falls behind 2-0 on Napoli. Napoli in his third tour of duty as a member of the Texas Rangers, as Buster talked about before the game, was with the Indians last year. 34 home runs, 101 RBIs. But the market was not quite there for the power hitting first base DH types in the offseason, as a lot of people expected. And to say it wasn't quite there would be an understatement. The one guy who really seemed to cash in was Edwin Encarnacion, although even that one was a bit of a long and winding road to get him there. And then so Napoli was without a job and wound up coming back to Texas, where he was back in 2011 and 12, and also for part of the 15 season.
Yeah, guys, you knew it would be a tough winter for sluggers like Mike Napoli when Chris Carter, who merely led the National League in home runs, was released at the outset of the offseason. That was a signal about how teams were valuing home runs this winter. Napoli winds up with just a one-year deal after a career season.
Rangers happy, though, to welcome him back into the fold as the curveball stays high and the count full.
Just watch Clayton Kershaw's body language. We can kind of hone in on his sounds and his frustrations, as you alluded to, but the body language he has after almost every pitch, good, bad.
In the air to center. Peterson drifting back, has room. First got to make contact of Kershaw today after Kershaw struck out the first 4.
It was interesting. One of the pitches within that sequence, I believe the 1-0 pitch to Napoli, was a changeup. Something that we've heard Clayton has been working on a little bit more this spring. Not a pitch he throws really almost ever, but it's always been in the repertoire. It's just not something he breaks out much during the regular season. But this spring, he's had a little bit of success. Perhaps we may see it a little bit in the regular season.
2 down, and Kershaw will start Nomar Mazara with a strike. The 21-year-old had a fine rookie season, although he was much better in April, May than he was after that. They made some adjustments against him, and now, as is often the case, up to him to make some adjustments back. He is in left field today, although he primarily will be the right fielder for the Rangers. Will play against righties, could play against lefties. Jeff Bannister and the Rangers wanting to take a look at Rua in right field and Mazara in left field again, just to increase the versatility of the roster. When you think about Mazara, Rua, DeShields, we talked about, Profar, Shin-Soo Choo, who will be the primary DH, but they can move some people around.
Yeah, when you think about left field, it's Profar, DeShields, and Rua, and all three of those guys look like they're going to make the team. So with Profar's versatility, as we've talked about, there's going to be some moving parts, and that's why they just here late in spring, they want to get a look like mid-game if something happens to where they pinch hit for a guy or they have to move a guy. They want to see some guys in different spots.
Into left field, a base hit for Mazara, first base runner for the Rangers off Kershaw. And here's another one of the guys we were just talking about. Ryan Arua will come up right now. He can play the corner spots. They feel comfortable if they have to put him in center, they can. He can play first base. He's a right-handed batter who historically has had better numbers against lefties, and whether it's playing against lefties on the corners of the outfield, left or right, maybe getting a little more than that. He's having a terrific spring. He is really making a case for himself to not only be on the team, but to be a pretty significant contributor on the team.
Especially because I don't think he's a guy that at the start of spring training they're highlighting, saying, hey, he's really going to make a run for this. And yet every spring he comes in and really shows, whether it's what Jeff Bannister was telling us before the game, stolen bases, his versatility, his just power. He won't go away.
Kershaw went 5 innings in his last spring training start. We're told to expect 6 innings, assuming the pitch count is within a normal range here today.
When first look at Kershaw on the stretch today, something that not surprising is another strength of his. Incredibly difficult to run against with that little slide step he makes to home plate. Almost makes it impossible to steal on him.
And another strikeout for Kershaw. He's got 5 through his first 2 innings of work today. And a 2-in surprise. Dodgers up 3-0 on the Rangers. Monday at 1 o'clock Eastern here on ESPN. We've got some afternoon Grapefruit League baseball for you. It'll be the Red Sox and the Orioles from Sarasota, Florida. Carl Ravitch, Dallas Braden, Pete Law, Eric Carabell on the call. Also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Top 3 here in surprise. Dan Shulman, Just Mendoza, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney. Clayton Kershaw, 5 strikeouts through 2 for the Dodgers. Dylan G has given up a home run to Chase Utley in the first. And 3 runs in all as he tries to make his case for a spot in the Texas rotation. A rotation that will be headlined, of course, by the likes of Yu Darvish and Cole Hamels. So 2 pretty good names. A couple of guys with pretty good track records at the top of that Rangers rotation. Darvish another year removed from surgery, and a lot of people expecting big things from him this year as that throw will scoop by Napoli at first, and safely across is Logan Forsythe. So for Texas, what does it look like after Darvish and Hamels? Well, Martin Perez seems locked in as the 3 guy. We mentioned they may break camp with only 4 because of some off days. A.J. Griffin had a pretty good outing in a minor league game today. Right now it could be Griffin and G battling for that 4th spot, but there are other names to consider, especially once some of the injured guys get healthy. Hamels and Darvish, a very accomplished 1-2 at the top of the rotation. Eventually, of course, the Rangers will need 5. They'll need their 5th. I think the first day they'll need a 5th starter is on the 15th of April. So will both Griffin and G be in there? Mike Hochschild is a Rule 5 pickup from Houston, so they've got to keep him on the Major League roster or offer him back. And then 2 very interesting names, Tyson Ross and Andrew Kashner, both of whom are currently coming back from injuries. Kashner with biceps tendonitis pitched in a minor league game yesterday, won a couple of innings. They're hoping he could be ready maybe middle of April. Tyson Ross with thoracic outlet syndrome surgery, and they're hoping maybe early May for Ross. 2 guys with some pretty big arms.
Yeah, and I think the biggest question you have about the Texas Rangers is the back end of their rotation. So if Kashner and or Ross can at some point come back and give them some production, you know, this is obviously a very scary, very dangerous, and very talented Texas Rangers roster.
Utley sends one into left center field. It's going to drop in for a base hit. Up to second on the play goes Forsythe.
Well, and if Kashner, as you said, Dan, he's back possibly mid-April. I like the idea of the possibility of a 4-man rotation. Why force in a 5th starter if they don't have to, knowing, and if it's not there? I mean, knowing that Kashner is going to be back, Tyson Ross will be back hopefully maybe a month later. So they have that depth if they get their 2 injured guys back. And if G doesn't step into that role, Hochschild, someone they might look at possibly even in the bullpen. I mean, why force something that might not be there?
You know, it's hard for teams, and it's a bit unusual for teams who go into a season considering themselves a contender, but the Rangers certainly should. those traditionally aren't the kinds of teams who go out and get a Rule 5 guy, because now you're carrying someone who you may not be able to use all that much because you're in a lot of close games. And man, have the Rangers been in a lot and been good in close games recently. But Hochschild has opened up some eyes. 27 years old. He's a bit of an older guy, and it sounds like they're impressed enough that he's got a good chance to stick.
Well, he's a different look potentially in the pen. Not an overpowering guy. Obviously a starter throughout most of his minor league career.
That's a fair ball. And on to first for the out as the runners advance.
So he's a guy that can give him some length in the pen and some middle innings, because it's a Rangers bullpen that is mostly power arms. Obviously Sam Dyson is the closer, but a lot of power arms that are more one-inning guys. So a guy like Hochschild, or if G at some point is in that bullpen in that middle inning mix, they can give them some length in the middle innings and not have to use those power arms one inning on a nightly basis.
Second and third, one out, and here's Grandal. The infield is in now for Texas.
Guys, Ross is really intriguing. The Cubs actually were really interested in signing him, but Ross wound up picking the Rangers because they have a history of working with pitchers coming back from that particular surgery that he had. And so even though they play in a hitter's park in Texas, they land one of the more coveted starting pitchers in the free agent market.
Popped him up. And Andrews there, 2 down. And you just see more and more often, teams don't say, okay, these are my 5 starters and that's enough. I mean, that's the way the world used to be, but it's not that way anymore. Every team wants to have 6, 7, 8, 9 potential options as starting pitchers between injuries and guys who may not pitch well. You just can't have enough depth.
Well, that's what we've seen the last couple of seasons with the Dodgers. Certainly this year they're 8 or 9 deep, and it seems like year in and year out they're having to use every single guy. And the Rangers, even though they're a little banged up here at the start, they're hoping once May rolls around that their depth can become somewhat of a strength for them.
Here's Puig.
Dodgers 15 starters last year.
Yeah.
15.
Kenta Maeda was the only Dodgers starter who didn't miss a turn.
Yeah, and usually that's a recipe for disaster. You think guys aren't able to make their starts, but the Dodgers go on to the National League Championship Series, win the West.
Puig lines the ball down the left field line, but foul.
Another pitch up from G there, but Puig just a little bit out in front of it, checking his bat right now to see if maybe he broke that bat as he gets it off the end. Just a little quick, a little out in front, but that's a pitch that's an off-speed pitch that stays up, a pitch that Puig could have done some damage with. You see just off the end, kind of. That's why he's checking to make sure he didn't break that bat, which it looks like he did not.
When you get in a box against a pitcher like G, and I feel like Forsythe and Utley have had the best approaches, is you're going to see a lot of junk. He's more of a contact guy, and he's not going to overwhelm you with the velocity. But yet, you still get a fastball up in the zone, and you have to be able to be patient from the beginning of the at-bat to track that ball and see it deep.
Ooh. What do you think the expectations are within the Dodgers organization for Puig this year?
Well, I think they're at a point, maybe even a crossroads, that it is entirely up to him now. And I don't think they're going to be very patient, you know, if it doesn't go well or if there's any kind of distractions. I think if he goes out and performs, he's going to get a lot of playing time. If not, they have the depth, and I think they're very much prepared to play that depth and not kind of wait around and hope for the star player to emerge. It's either going to happen or somebody else is going to step in, and I think they're very comfortable as an organization with that reality.
And we should remember they sent him down to the minor leagues for a while last year, and hoping that and when he came back last year, there was a lot of talk about how, you know, he learned from that experience, the maturity got better teammate, that sort of thing. Into right field, that's a base hit. And 2 runs will score. Puig slips and slides around first, then the throw gets by first, winds up near the dugout, and Puig takes off and slides into second.
And this at bat is a great example of the maturity of Yasiel Puig. The foul ball we saw that was off the end of the bat, he works this count, he even gets a check swing before this pitch to be able to see the ball deeper. And look where he hits it. It's going to be more off of his back leg, an adjustment that he made throughout the at bat, realizing, okay, I was early, to be able to get his timing into position within the at bat to then get the hit. And I feel like classic Puig is him getting back, seeing that the ball's loose, no hesitation, quick hesitation, then taking second with that speed and aggressiveness that's classic Puig.
Well, Chirinos and G right there, I think realized that they had him out in front with some breaking balls a little bit, but Puig, to his credit, just kind of slowed things down. So they went to the fastball in thinking he's going to try and make an adjustment to that off speed. They beat him inside a little bit, but because he was so short, because he was so flat, able to dump it.
Tolles will rip a ball to deep right off the base of the wall. This will get Puig home. Tolles into second with a double, and the Dodgers are hitting Dylan G hard right now. It is 6-0, although in his defense, 2 errors in the inning, one on Anders, one on Odor, but the Dodgers are having themselves some swings.
But too many pitches in the heart of the plate with that, 87, 88 mile an hour little two-seam fastball, which he's got to work to the corners and he's got to work down. This is a number of real healthy swings against him so far. This is something that Bannister and the Ranger staff are watching as he's pitching now against big league hitters. What is their reaction? What kind of swings are they getting on? And I would say mostly today, there's been some pretty good swings against Dylan.
Chris Taylor, who doubled his last time up, a swing and a miss, 0-1. I'll tell you, Booney, if I lived out here, I'd be doing this every afternoon. I'd just find a ballpark, go sit on the grass, watch a game.
It's a good gig out here for another couple months.
Then it gets a little steamy.
A little run for the indoors.
Runner back.
Yes.
I know you'd be doing that.
Yeah. There's Dan, Booney.
That's what happens. That's what happens.
Seriously, let's get those outfits up here. You guys would rock them.
Backstory.
Get it, Buster.
Off the glove of Chirinos, and the runner will advance. Boy, Jeff Bannister cannot be happy with the defense. 2 errors and a pass ball already in this game.
Yeah, and that's something that Jeff Bannister and the Rangers have really put a premium on this spring. A lot of work has gone into defense and just wanting to be more steady, more consistent with especially the routine play, something he feels like there's room for improvement on with this club. So a little shaky so far today.
G will strike out Taylor, and finally the inning comes to an end. 3 more runs though for the Dodgers, 2 of them coming in on an RBI single by Yasiel Puig, and it is 6-0. Dodgers over Texas. We're going to keep it right here, not going to break. We're going to visit with Jeff Bannister, the manager of the Rangers, in a moment as we take a look back at their season from a year ago. They won the American League West, lost in the division series to Toronto for the 2nd year in a row. Some headline players: Hamels, Darvish, Beltre, Odor. They add Mike Napoli in the offseason, and as you, Darvish, the X factor. a year healthier than he was last year. Big things expected. Let's go down to field level now. Jeff Bannister, the manager of the Rangers, kind enough to join us. Jeff, you got about a week and a half until opening day. Big picture, where are you guys at compared to where you want to be at right now?
Well, we've got some work to do. We see that on the field right now. Never let it be said that when you come to the ballpark, you don't have something to work on. But, no, listen, I like where we're at. After tomorrow, we will have everybody back in camp. All those guys that were in the WBC. We'll celebrate Dyson and Lucroy a little bit. We'll console Claudio a little bit. But look, I think we're in good shape. Our starting pitching is really starting to shape up a little bit. We're looking at a couple different guys. Maybe we'll go, not real sure yet whether or not we're going to go 4 out of the gate or stick with 5. We got an opportunity to maybe go with 4 in the starting rotation and add an arm in the bullpen. But I like where our position player group is at, and I like where our bullpen is at.
Well, and the excitement, not just in the starting rotation and the bullpen, but you think about your offense, the versatility of your defense, getting guys back like Profar now, and what you're able to do and the depth that you have, not only in left field, but throughout your entire defense.
Absolutely. We've got some guys, and that left field competition has been one fun competition to watch, really. And we've got 3 guys out there that are in the heat of it, that we feel like that they can do multiple things for us. They can play all over the field in Profar and Rua. Profar being a guy that we can play him anywhere on the diamond except for behind the plate and on the mound. And a lot of versatility, really a shortstop that's going to be a utility player on our team, but get some regular at-bats in left field. We've got Rua who can play on the corners on the infield, but also play anywhere in the outfield. And then if Delino DeShields keeps doing what he does, and we like the speed element, and then quite possibly have that kind of a 3-headed talented pool to play all over the place for us.
Jeff, we appreciate the time. Best of luck. We'll see you opening day when you take on the Indians.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Jeff Bannister, the manager of the Texas Rangers. He mentioned the WBC. And first of all, congratulations to the United States as they picked up the win over Puerto Rico last night. And 8 members of the Texas Rangers 40-man roster were playing for one country or another in the World Baseball Classic. And you heard Jeff Bannister mention Sam Dyson, Jonathan Lucroy. They're part of Team USA. They're just coming back. Alex Claudio, who was in the WBC for Puerto Rico, so he went right to the final as well. Profar hit great for the Netherlands. Beltre, a part of the Dominican Republic, and then a trio of Rangers, a part of Team Venezuela.
Yeah, and Jeff, before the game, was talking to us about the pride that their organization has and the fact that they did send 8 players to the WBC, but you also feel for them a little, especially both your catchers, Chirinos here, who played, and obviously Jonathan Lucroy. Missing your 2 catchers for a couple of weeks in the middle of spring training can be tough, because those are important relationships that start to develop in spring training, especially with some of the new pitchers that you're adding to your mix.
So Chirinos just back. This is his 2nd game since rejoining the team as he fouls one off.
And you got to remember too, Jonathan Lucroy only spent half the season with this team last year, so the spring was a huge. And I remember coming here in February and talking to Bannister, and he was saying, you know what, that piece hasn't been filled yet. Lucroy is still developing relationships and the mentality and psychology of this pitching staff.
Kershaw with 5 strikeouts through 2 innings. As he loses him and walks the leadoff hitter. Last night in the WBC championship game in Los Angeles, the USA had the bats going. Ian Kinsler with a 2-run homer in the 3rd inning off Seth Lugo, the starter for Puerto Rico. And Marcus Stroman had it going on. 6 no-hit innings. Gave up a leadoff and a little shoulder shimmy as he came off the mound. Eventually it would be David Robertson who would finish it off. Stroman named the WBC MVP, and the United States, which had never before got to the championship game in 3 previous tournaments, wins it all with an 8-0 win over Puerto Rico last night. Congratulations to Team USA and to Jim Leland as well, the manager who announced shortly after the win that he would never have put the uniform on again, and good for him for going out in that fashion. He appeared to be as intense as always managing Team USA. Anders lines one to short. Runner gets back. Let's go down to Buster with more.
And guys, Jeff Bannister made reference to the welcome back for the guys from the WBC. Well, what they did is each time a player came back from a club that had been eliminated, they would place a wreath, this wreath like that, in front of the locker of the player who was involved. DR, that was in reference to Dominican Republic when Adrian Beltre came back, the Netherlands when Jurickson Profar came back, and then afterward, when all the players would go out for a meeting that they have outside the clubhouse every day, they would play taps.
DeShields gets a bunt down. Kershaw off the mound quickly, fires to first, and dug out by Utley for the out. 2 down, runner at second. Okay, guys, WBC seems to have been, it seems to be perceived as having been a bigger success now than the previous 3. In 4 years, assuming it happens again, different, bigger, smaller, the same, different time of year. Any changes? What do you think?
Biggest thing is it's going to come right off the back of baseball returning to the Olympics in 2020 in Tokyo. So you got to think about the excitement of however many years baseball now has been away from it and now coming back. Plus, this year, it was unbelievable. I know as a fan, for me personally, just glued and talking to friends. I mean, I went out to Dodger Stadium, watched the game. I mean, the stadiums were packed. The fans were in it, and USA was behind their team.
Aaron, from players you have spoken to, do you think, because the biggest issue some people have is, yeah, but not all the best players want to go. Do you get the feeling more players will commit next time?
Yeah, look, the pitcher aspect is always going to be dicey, and you understand the apprehension there. But I think from a position player standpoint, and look, from the U.S. standpoint, the position players were outstanding this year. But I think next go around, you will absolutely have the best players in the world from a position player standpoint lining up to play in that game, in the tournament.
I just love that it has that Olympic feel. That's why I think coming off.
I was way into it, and I didn't go in saying, oh, I can't wait for this to start or anything. I just kind of got captivated by some of the games and some of the electricity of the fan bases, and it worked this spring.
I brought out one of my flags from the Olympics. Like, I literally was like decked out Tuesday night, like totally. It had everything to keep from painting my face.
In the rain at Dodger Stadium.
In the rain, had my flag, wanted to put on my USA jersey. I mean, it had that feel.
Profar certainly had a good time. We saw that, although as well as he hit is maybe as poor as some of his choices on the base paths were. He had 3 base running issues. The last one was where he was kind of celebrating a single with his teammates in the dugout and took a little bit too long to get back to first base after he rounded the bag with Yadier Molina holding the baseball at the plate. There had been a runner at third base, so that the throw came to home plate. Molina threw him out.
Maybe could have been a huge run, though.
Could have been, yeah. They lose by a run and they get knocked out that
next batter hit a home run.
Unfortunately for Jurickson, that's going to be one of the lasting images from this year's WBC is Yadier Molina kind of having him in the crosshairs and picking him off there at first base. But that'll be something that you better believe Jurickson Profar will learn from.
Ground ball to short, and that's the inning. Kershaw pitching well. 3 shutout innings, 1 hit, 5 strikeouts so far. Join Major League Baseball and New Era as we celebrate opening day. Make sure to wear your cap on April the 3rd and share a photo on social media using hashtag #CapsOn. Tune into all the opening day action April 3rd on ESPN, MLB Network, and MLB.com. We will have 4 games for you on Monday, April the 3rd. ESPN will bring you 3 games on Sunday the 2nd, 4 games on Monday the 3rd, and caps on. Could be a Blue Jays cap, a Dodger cap, whatever you happen to see. We will be in St. Louis on Sunday the 2nd as the Cardinals host the Cubs, and we will be in Arlington on Monday the 3rd as the Rangers host the Indians. Culberson with a bouncer, and that's going to get up and over the head of Napoli into right field for a base hit. Let's go down to Buster Olney.
Guys, over the next 20 months, fans and evaluators around baseball are going to watch the progress of Manny Machado and Bryce Harper, who are both eligible for free agency after the 2018
you don't see a lot of that personality. And I get it. There's that fear that they're going to put something out there. It's going to come back to bite them. But if you look at the NBA, you look at the NFL, a lot of their big personalities have a presence. And I would love to see. I mean, the fact that there isn't one, it just shows that they're lack of, because the personality's there.
No doubt.
Those guys are in the game.
No doubt.
They're just not putting it out there on Twitter.
Correction. Justin Verlander, $1.25 million.
Oh, but you still got him. You're still ahead of him.
I still got him.
Yeah, all right.
By .02.
I think we should throw out a challenge if Justin Verlander happens to be watching today. I mean, come on,
No, don't do
let's
that.
see
Don't
if
do
you can,
that.
Let's see if you can overtake Buster.
And that dude BP.
Is that the next poll?
Brandon Phillips is
Yeah.
over $1 million. Both of whom I follow. Verlander and Brandon Phillips.
And Buster.
And Buster, of course. You know, the Verlanders,
We got to get
the
this
Phillips,
like a race. Can we get
the
like a
Olneys
chart
of the world.
like who's winning the finish line? Who gets to 1.5 first?
Activity now when the Rangers pen left-hander Dario Alvarez is up. Buster, is that a Vanderbilt shirt?
That is a Vanderbilt
It is a
shirt.
Vanderbilt.
When I was told to dress casually, you guys know I really don't have any clothes that don't have either my college or my high school alma mater listed on them.
And America, he speaks the truth on that. G back at him, and a strike taken by Logan Forsythe. Forsythe has singled and scored, and then reached on an error and scored. What did you guys make of the comments made by Evan Longoria in the aftermath of the deal, where the Rays give up Forsythe? They get a very promising young arm and Jose De Leon back, but Longoria had some very pointed comments about how he felt about the Rays trading away Forsythe.
I think it just shows the person of Forsythe. I mean, there was the talent that you don't want to lose, but what he meant as a player and that clubhouse presence. You know, that's what I think is exactly what Andrew Friedman, we talked about the three-headed monster that he can be at second base, a leadoff, hitting lefties, but really it's what he can add. So it's already a good clubhouse presence.
Well, I think Evan also understands not only the player Forsythe has been so far in his young career, but I think the player that the Dodgers are ultimately going to get, and they feel like they're going to get an impact player on both sides of the ball in Forsythe. You know, the Rays have to continue to find ways to replenish their farm system and their young players, and De Leon gives them at least a high-end pitching potential someday.
Boy, I saw the Rays last week, and some players over there still bummed that they gave him up. And remember, Dave Roberts, Dodgers manager, had Forsythe with the Padres. Andrew Friedman, currently running the Dodgers, traded for him for Tampa Bay in 2014.
And you're right, Buster, and I think Dave Roberts was probably very instrumental because he knew what he had in Forsythe when he was in San Diego with them. And I think this is a guy that they really sought out. You know, there's talks about Dozier from Minnesota, obviously a great player, but I think the Dodgers really set their sights on Forsythe, knowing what he could potentially be for them.
There's a base hit into left center. Second hit of the game for Forsythe. Racing around third, Culberson on his way home and slides in safely. As the Dodgers continue to add on, they've scored in every inning and now lead 7-0.
Well, it's a good job by Culberson and third base coach Chris Woodward there. He froze on the line drive, so he didn't get a great jump off of second base, but still didn't take anything for granted. Looked like another breaking ball that kind of hung up in the strike zone. You see that short swing. You see Culberson retreat to the bag, but not just assuming he's going to get to third base. Right away, he's still thinking, I have a chance to score. Woodward sends him, and he beats the throw easily. Another run for the Dodgers.
So a tough day for Dylan G, as we mentioned, competing for a spot of the rotation, but hit hard by the Dodgers today as Jeff Bannister goes to his pen. MLB.com at bat mobile app. Stay connected to the game's best players all season long with game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcast stats, news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat today. It's your #1 app for live baseball. Chase Utley is up for the third time. He's homered and singled. Left-hander Dario Alvarez, in out of the bullpen for the Rangers, was with them and Atlanta last year. Made a total of 26 appearances between the two teams. As the sweeping breaking ball misses outside ball one.
Two-pitch pitcher, fastball low mid 90s. That slider there, that slider he'll throw more often than his fastball. But a guy that probably figures into the mix at some point with the Rangers out of their bullpen.
Catches the corner.
Well, Jess, we got a couple more ball players over $1 million.
Bad info. Bad
Mike
info.
Trout over $2 million. Adrian Gonzalez.
We're
both guys I follow.
Adrian Gonzalez, 1.1 million. We were alerted by Justin Turner to that.
I love it.
Good to see Justin Turner on his day off, is
Watch
keeping
more
up with his
baseball.
mates. Yeah.
How many followers does Justin Turner have?
Buster's on it.
Yeah.
Give him a minute.
Silence means he's churning.
Yep.
He's got 89.9 thousand.
Okay. Let's go, Justin. Think that kid follows Buster? In the dirt, the count is full. Forsythe at first. One down in the inning, and a 7-0 lead for the Dodgers over the Rangers here in Surprise. "15 teams now make their spring training home here in Arizona. 15 in Florida. It used to be skewed much more in the favor of Florida. As Utley is gone for the second out. A lot of teams coming to Arizona in recent years, and a lot of teams sharing facilities, and this is one of them. The Texas Rangers and the Kansas City Royals share facilities, so one team is home, the other is away, or you play against each other. A lot less driving from site to site in Arizona than there is in Florida. Ball flies out here, though, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Little elevation here.
Yeah.
Big ballparks, but it carries very well, especially when it starts heating up.
In the Pac-12, I loved going to U of A, ASU. I get giddy.
Yeah.
Well, then you start swinging, though. But
I know we used to go there too, and all these guys have way better stats and more home runs than us. I'm like, what is the deal? And then you take batting practice.
yes,
You're like,
that's
oh,
all
okay.
it takes. VP.
Yeah.
First few swings in, you're like, all right.
Get used to this.
Jock Peterson is flied out and grounded out. Aaron, why do you think this guy is poised for a breakout year?
Well, I think he's super talented, and I think he took a step in the right direction last year, had some late season success, and he's one of those guys on a very short list that you watch him take batting practice and the ball just comes off. You hear people talk, it just comes off a little bit different. His fly ball goes 10-15 feet further than the next guy, kind of. And I think he's just getting better at using the entire field, which he has powered all fields. I think he's always going to strike out, and that'll be a little bit of an issue. But he's continuing to walk more and more. And he's a quality defender in center field. So add it all up, I think he continues to grow. And if he can get a little bit better against left-handed pitching, then he becomes a star player.
8 for 64 last year,
Right.
125 average against lefties, facing a lefty here. And really, once you have that label of, well, he can't really hit lefties, you really have to prove yourself out of that with management and your skipper.
Especially when you have a roster like the Dodgers with so much depth and a team that has such high expectations.
We'll take a walk.
But I like that the Dodgers have given him that opportunity because it says that they believe that he can hit lefties. When you look at a guy like Mike Conforto with the Mets, you know, early on they started to pinch hit for him and not give him chances against lefties, started to platoon him, and it says from the very beginning, look, I don't think that this is something that you're capable of doing, regardless if that's really what they believe. And I know for Jock, he has had the chance to be able to adjust. Yes, 8 for 64, that's not good. But he knows that this team believes that he can.
2 men on, 2 men out, and the batter is Yasmani Grandal, 0 for 2, a strikeout and a pop-up.
But it helps when you play a premium defensive position. It allows you more opportunities.
Ground ball to short. Force the runner at second to end the inning. 7-0 Dodgers going bottom 4. Adrian Beltre will lead it off against Clayton Kershaw when we come back.
Adrian is unbelievable. He's the best. You know, he always trying to make everybody a better player.
He's like a big brother for me.
Almost like my dad, just trying to teach me everything he knows.
I learned so many things from him, and I still learning every time, you know, in the stadium and outside too.
So you look at the numbers, and they're tremendous. They are Hall of Fame worthy, but then you hear a lot of the young players on the Rangers. You just heard from Andrews and Odor and Profar talk about what Beltre means to them as he skies one into right center field for the first out. You can't put it's hard to put a value on what that means, but what do you guys feel that the leadership and experience of Beltre means to the rest of the Rangers?
Well, I'm a big believer when your best players are your best people, you kind of create the culture and set the tone within the organization so that anybody now that comes into your organization is forced to kind of play a certain way, is forced to kind of, I guess, play the right way or have a certain level of professionalism about you. And I think Adrian Beltre is one of those guys who completely sets the tone for the organization, and that anyone that comes in, you kind of follow suit or you're gone.
And he has that balance. I mean, it's hard to not find a smile on anyone's face when they're around him, whether he's in the dugout, whether he's, you know, out on the field during BP prior to, and they're joking around, they're making, just always. And yes, he's teaching, and you watch him right now with the young guys, and it's yes, information and knowledge and all of that, but it's also we're playing baseball. It's like we're 10 years old. Get back to that and you'll play your best baseball.
Well, and he's been through so many things. I think as a big league ball player, as a professional baseball player, that his experience he's able to pass on is invaluable. I mean, he gets to the big leagues with the Dodgers as a 19-year-old premium prospect. But the first few years of his career, even though it was promising, there were bumps in the road. There were struggles along the way. I remember playing against him in a game in Cincinnati and him kind of being a little bummed out at third base. And, you know, I liked him personally, and I thought he was going to be such a good player that, you know, you're kind of encouraging him. And I think those experiences make for him being the better leader and the leader that he is.
He hit .215 as a rookie with the Dodgers, and as you mentioned, Aaron, he was 19 years old. His breakout year was his last year with the Dodgers in 2004 when he hit 48 home runs. Then he went to Seattle, spent 1 year in Boston, and since he's come to Texas in now his mid and into his late 30s, he's had some of his best years. Last year, as a 37-year-old, he hit .300 with 32 home runs and 104 RBIs and won a Gold Glove.
That's why I say, you know, he's not that Hall of Fame player that's at the end of his career just compiling numbers now. He's still a great player.
Let's bring in Buster.
Think about this. When Adrian Beltre made his major league debut, Profar was 5 years old. Okay, so everyone that I talked to yesterday was talking about him being a big brother. Mike Napoli said without him in the clubhouse, it was just quiet. And he said that when he returned from the World Baseball Classic, it was like this great commotion happened. All of a sudden, everything was loud. Everybody was giving Beltre a hard time. He was giving them back. Yesterday, guys, I watched a ground ball drill with he and Elvis Andrus, and it turned into a drill where they would field the ground ball and then try to hit a basketball shot into a bucket.
2 down.
And so, of course, at the end of it, the players are laughing, the coaches are laughing, everyone's having a great time, and that's the energy that he brings. The other people on the team talk about how much he's meant to Andrus in terms of raising his focus because he's into every game, into every pitch.
Just don't touch his hair. That's all he asks.
Which, of course, they do.
Yeah, we've all got our quirks, and that's it. 2 down, and here's Napoli. Kershaw through 3 2/3 has given up 1 hit, 1 walk. He has struck out 5. Napoli with a fly ball to center is 1 time up.
Gosh, dang.
Kershaw known for going inside a lot to righties, but today really been working the left side of the plate, that backdoor side, with his fastball and his slider to command kind of away, especially the right-handed batters.
Prior to that pitch right there, which was a slider, he had thrown 2 consecutive changeups, which again is not a pitch you associate at all with Clayton Kershaw, working on another weapon.
And he threw 1, I believe, in Napoli's first at bat, and it's been a little bit of a talk this camp. And one thing that Clayton Kershaw has done, and you know, a lot of great players, great pitchers do this, is they're constantly tweaking and making little adjustments. When Kershaw first came up, it was primarily fastball, curveball. Then over the years, we've seen that slider become kind of that #1 secondary pitch and a dominant pitch for him. Maybe we'll see more changeups as he gets along in his career.
So if you're a hitter and you know he's working on that changeup, how much attention do you pay to it, or because the other 3 pitches are so good, do you not even focus on it at all?
Well, I don't think you focus on it
at this point, no.
5 strikeouts so far in this game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear the comments after the game. I always like to hear what Clayton Kershaw thinks of his outings. I think for the most part, he's been pretty sharp in this, the second to last outing he'll make before opening day. Probably the most pitches he'll throw all spring training. So this is that last real ramp up before the regular season.
He's had a couple that he's spiked and shown some frustration, and I think his command. The thing is he rarely misses, has big misses where he's missing over the plate, where he's giving guys something to really drive.
Curveball and a beauty. It's 0-2.
And to me, not only does he have the stuff, as you see with the curveball, that last pitch, but it's how he sets up his pitches. He'll go with a 4-seam fastball and back it by a curveball in that same slot. He's utilizing today his fastball low in the zone, the slider right off of it.
Saw Drew Robinson into run at first for Mike Napoli.
Just the thought of him mixing in a changeup, especially to righties. I mean, it's just, and that's why he wants to do it, is to have another off-speed pitch besides his curveball that he can throw to right-handed batters. But even last fall, he started dropping down a couple times in September that he had picked up from Rich Hill. I mean, you said always tinkering, always working. He does not feel like he is still the best that he can be, which is just crazy. But makes sense if you know Clayton Kershaw.
Down and away in a full count. The Dodgers open up the season at home against the Padres on Monday, April the 3rd. That's one of the 4 games that we'll have for you that day here on the ESPN family of networks. We'll have Atlanta at the Mets, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Padres and Dodgers, 4 o'clock Eastern. Indians and Rangers at 7 Eastern, and then at 10 Eastern on ESPN 2 will be the Angels and the A's. Of course, the season actually begins on Sunday the 2nd with 3 games, all of them again on either ESPN or ESPN2. The Yankees at Tampa Bay, the Giants are in Arizona, and our crew will be in St. Louis as the Cardinals open up against the defending World Series champion Chicago Cubs.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
John Lester, Carlos Martinez.
Yeah, I'd say our first 2 pitching matchups pretty good. Lester, Martinez, and then probably Darvish and Kluber. Sign me up.
Swing and a miss, and the inning is over. 6 strikeouts now through 4 innings for Clayton Kershaw. Pretty sharp as he continues to tune up for the regular season. ESPN the magazine will be available March the 31st, and on the cover, Dodger shortstop Corey Seager, rookie of the year a year ago, and one of so many incredible young talents on the scene of Major League Baseball right now. Also a piece on Yoan Moncada, traded to the White Sox in the offseason, talking about his struggles with assimilation after arriving in the U.S. from Cuba. And the issue also includes our power rankings, sprinkled around, each featuring the Cubs right now at number 1. The latest ESPN the magazine issue will be on newsstands on March the 31st. The Corey Seager story will be available online on Monday. Seager is not with the Dodgers right now. He is nursing an oblique injury, but he is starting to ramp it up a little bit, and all signs do point towards him being ready to go by opening day.
Wait to get my preview magazine, baby.
Puig lifts a fly ball deep right field, but caught on the warning track by Rua. Well, we mentioned Yoan Moncada. More on that. Baseball Life is a season-long ESPN initiative that looks at how the game and Latino culture intersect and what it means to be a Latino player in Major League Baseball in 2017. More on that in the feature on Moncada in ESPN the magazine. Moncada is the highest-paid international prospect of all time, and now is a member of the Chicago White Sox. Yasiel Puig can relate to probably a lot of what Moncada is currently going.
I love what I've seen from the Baseball Life too. Just a lot of the Spanglish, the kind of getting into the culture of a lot of the different Latin players. I saw a piece on some of the Venezuelans, Felix Hernandez, Rougned Odor of the Rangers, Salvador Perez, with Pedro Gomez. It's good stuff. I love it because it gets deeper. You know, you really get to know these guys, their background, their culture, and kind of just the good and the bad of coming over.
And I think it's a lot of fun. That's one of the things about the WBC, to see these guys go and play for their native countries and the pride that goes along with that, I think is one of the real neat things about our sport and about the WBC, frankly.
Let's go down to the field level. Here is Buster Olney with Mike Napoli.
Mike, we were just talking about Adrian Beltre and his return to the clubhouse after the WBC. What was that like?
It was pretty good. You know, it was quiet when he was gone, but when he got back, you start hearing the rumblings, and it's back to normal.
Your 3rd time with the Rangers. John Daniels, the general manager, said that he's finally not going to make a mistake with you. What was your thought process coming over here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great organization. You know, I know what I'm going to get over here. It's a winning ball club. Some great veterans mixed with some great young talent. So coming here was a great fit for me and a great fit for them.
It's such a close bond with the Indians. You saw them in spring training. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You know, it was that run we went through last year, the bond I made with everybody over there. It was so it was a little tough. It's going to be a tough opening day, you know, playing against them. But you know, it's time to move on to the next thing in my life, and it's coming here with the Rangers to try to win the championship.
How are your conversations with Terry Francona, your former manager?
We have them often. You know, we text with each other, and he's going to be someone special in my life, for the rest of my life. And we built a great relationship that's never going to change. And I learned a lot from him.
Mike, thanks. Dan, back to you.
All right, Buster, thank you. Incidentally, as well, Mike Napoli has said that he might clean up the beard a little bit now and then, but he's not trimming it all season long. He's going to let it out like he did when he was a member of the Red Sox. So
we're starting to see a little tighter with some guys in the sideburn area.
Pitching change coming here in Surprise. News today. This is interesting. Fortune magazine putting out a list of what they consider to be the top 10 world's greatest leaders. And I guess when you're the president of the team that wins a World Series for the first time in 108 years, you move up the list. Theo Epstein not only on the list, he's number 1 on the list, according to Fortune magazine, as the world's greatest leader. I thought as interesting as that was, as you look at the rest of the top 10.
He's above the Pope.
Oh, the Pope's third. So, you know, it's not bad, but he's got room to move up. So, but I thought as interesting as the list was, and this whole concept is, I thought Theo Epstein's comment in the aftermath of being named number 1 was even more interesting, and we'll have that for you after this next pitch. Preston Claiborne, by the way, is the new pitcher for the Rangers, former member of the Yankees a couple years ago. Theo Epstein, among the things he said when he was told about this, he goes, I can't even get my dog to stop peeing in the house.
So good. So good.
See, he's just like the rest of us.
And just, it's such a true reaction. Just, he's like, this is ridiculous. Absolutely. I mean, it's a big deal. You're the number 1 leader. Fortune magazine, you saw the list, and of course he's could have used the ego and like, well, of course I am, but no.
I contacted him and asked him that at 6 a.m. this morning local time, and he answered back in about 0.3 seconds, and you knew that he was mortified by it. And all I could think of was, and I saw the fact he's the number 1 world leader, was like, oh, poor Theo when he's around his peers. Oh, is he going to get a hard time?
Especially the Cubs. There's no lack of harassing when it comes to Madden and the crew.
Swing and a miss by Taylor. The count 2-2.
But there is no denying the job he's done in Chicago, and the rebuild job that they started really from the ground up and put that organization obviously in a position to win a world championship last year. But I think more impressively from his standpoint is he's got a team and an organization now that should have a realistic chance at that for the next several years. How strong they've built that organization.
We are all asked each year by our colleagues at ESPN.com to give our picks. Are you guys willing to share what you have or will choose, whether or not you're choosing the Cubs to win the World Series in 2017, or is it still too early? Got a couple days, I think, until the actual deadline.
I mean, I don't have the Cubs winning the World Series. I can tell you that right now. And the Dodgers going pretty far. Red Sox look really good. I like the Astros. But no, the Cubs are not my World Series pick.
This will stay in the yard for Profar. And Profar forgot how many outs there were. So the learning curve continues for the young man. Adjusting to center field, that's fine, but wherever you are, you got to know how many outs there are, and he got caught napping a little bit out there.
Well, and this has been a criticism that at times just a little lax out there, and kudos to Toles for being aware of it, scampering back and getting himself into scoring position. But
well, and Toles off the bat, I mean, he got his lead, he got a little bit off, but even before he saw him drift, he went back to tag, which isn't an instinct for a lot of base runners. Usually it's a ball behind you in the air that you tag on, and for him, he read he's going to be running away from it. He almost had a chance to go to 3. I mean, that's how much.
It, yeah. Beltre will get on him in between innings. Mr. Bannister might have something for him as well.
Probably going to hear from Andrew Jones as well, who he worked with on the Netherlands team about playing center field. He talked about how great that was, but he said Andrew would challenge him, and he probably will after that.
A few texts on his phone when he checks it after the game. We talked to Jet Bannister a couple of innings ago, and he said, listen, you never can show up at the field and assume that you just got everything under control and you're not going to make any mistakes. They've made physical mistakes today. They just made a mental mistake. This is a very talented young player in Jurickson Profar, but whether it's knowing the number of outs or base running issues, can he overcome that stuff to get the absolute best out of his ability?
And I think the answer is yes, because by all accounts, smart kid, great kid, and I think some of the mistakes that he's made have been a result of being a young player and missing so much time because of injury. So he hasn't gained that experience. So you're kind of learning on the fly at the big league level. But those are things he absolutely needs to clean up to become a complete player at this level.
This is Beltre's reaction when he realizes what's going on.
That might be dropping money into the kangaroo court.
Yeah,
That's exactly what that was, a little cha-ching action right there. A little March deposit.
Nope. Going to be a cha-ching and a lecture.
That's right.
For Jerickson Profar. He knows it. Remember, he's the guy who said in the interview that we ran a couple of innings ago that Beltre's almost like his dad. Dad's going to have some words for him. And then he'll make a play like that in a position that he had really never played before until he went to the WBC. He's an interesting guy, a guy to keep an eye on for many reasons heading into the 2017 season. Well, he knew what was coming. First of all, it was Adrian Beltre. And then it was the skipper. Not a lot you can say other than I don't know what I was thinking, my bad, but I mean, Jeff Bannister's fond of him and he loves the talent. But as you guys said, they got to clean up some of the mistakes. Just thought that was out number 3. He's not the first guy to do that.
No,
right?
And frankly,
yeah.
we've all been there, and most guys on the field today have been there at some point in their career. But it's these things that do occasionally happen, these lapses that happen too often.
Ruo with a bouncer up the middle and out by his step. Meanwhile, Kershaw now working into the 5th inning. That was pitch number 72. He went 5 innings in his last start, and we were told if the pitch count was manageable, typical, that he was scheduled for 6 innings here today. So we'll see how the rest of this inning works itself out and whether he comes back for the 6th.
You know, I think part of why last year, Boone was talking about earlier, he had such the minimal amount of walks is obviously to his credit first and foremost, but also hitters.
And here's, you know what Clayton's mad about is that Chirinos took a while to get up to home plate. He was redoctoring his bat. And then the umpire saying, hey, he's digging in. But Kershaw was already annoyed that he took so long to get up to home plate.
Chirinos is going to keep taking his time as he adjusts his batting gloves.
Yes, now we got some gamesmanship going on. Got the attention of Beltre over there like, hey, what's going on? Well, Rudnett got them forearms folded. High alert.
So Kershaw's saying that home plate umpire Dan Merzel called time in. He was rocking into his windup.
Look, and normally Kershaw would have waited there, and you would understand he's digging in. You're not going to quick pitch him in that manner, but Kershaw had waited because Chirinos went back to the on-deck circle after the first out and redoctored his bat. So Clayton was a little peeved that it took him so long, and that's why he tried to quick pitch him and got a little frustrated.
Well, to his credit, he's in the batter's box. I mean, he didn't have his hand up calling for time.
Well, yeah, but as a hitter, you don't necessarily want to have to call time. You're just...
That's the revenge Kershaw's looking for as he strikes him out. Number 7 in the game for the left-hander. So 2 down in the inning, and the batter now is Elvis Andrus, the shortstop, lined out his first time up. Andrus is coming off off-season hernia surgery, got a bit of a late start in the spring, and coming off a good year. Look at those numbers. Hit .302, drove in 69 runs, stole 24 bases.
You know, Kershaw's throwing right now like he's emptying the tank a little bit. Like this may be his last inning of work as his 80th pitch is about to come.
Curveball for a strike. Rick Honeycutt, longtime pitching coach for the Dodgers, among those looking on with a great interest here this afternoon. Got a chance to speak with Honeycutt live a little bit later on. Andrews didn't like the call. Kershaw with strikeout number 8. We'll have to wait and see if that's it for him. But he has been dealing this afternoon here against Texas. ESPN Fantasy Baseball is back. Go to ESPN.com/fantasybaseball or download the ESPN Fantasy app to sign up, draft, and follow your team or teams if you want more than one. We go to the 6th inning here in Surprise. The Rangers and the Dodgers. And the Dodgers leading 7-0. And the new pitcher for Texas is right-hander Jose Leclerc.
Leclerc, you see there 12 games with the Rangers a season ago, a nice ERA, a lot of walks in those 15 innings. Fastball low mid-90s. He'll throw a 2 and a 4-seam fastball. Changeup is his #1 secondary pitch, and occasional curveball.
And Clayton Kershaw comes up to swing the bat here in the 6th inning. Doesn't necessarily mean he'll be back out for the bottom of the 6th. We'll have to wait and see. He has grounded into a double play and had a sacrifice and thrown 5 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts today as he takes low ball 1. Pitches through the 5 innings for Kershaw as he takes low 2-0.
It doesn't seem like any word spoken between Chirinos and Kershaw.
Dugout.
Chirping from the dugout about the strike zone as Kershaw will take a strike over the inside edge. 3-1. How typical is it to see dugouts complaining about strike zones in spring training games all the time?
Game on. Yeah.
Ball 4. Now, heading into the season, some of the big milestones that are on the verge of happening. We have mentioned Adrian Beltre, 58 hits away from 3,000 in his career. Albert Pujols, 9 home runs away from 600. Kershaw and Max Scherzer, both if healthy, will soar right by the 2,000 strikeout mark. Some big names on the verge of some big milestones as Kershaw leads off the inning by drawing a walk. Back to the top of the order for Forsythe, 2 for 3.
Well, I think the fact that they're not running for Kershaw would suggest that he is indeed coming back out for the next inning.
Forsythe didn't like the call. Dodgers have won 4 consecutive NL West divisional crowns. Of course, the last time they won the World Series was back in 1988. 2-part quote. Well, you guys won't answer the second part, although Jess said she's got the Dodgers going far.
I'll answer your question.
You'll answer the question. Well, first of all, in your minds, are they the favorites to win the National League West again?
The the Dodgers.
Are they the Dodgers?
Yes.
Are they the favorites?
No, actually, I have the
You
Giants.
have the Giants winning the division.
And the Dodgers in the wild card. They go further than the Cubs or the Giants.
Well, let me say this. I reserve my right to change my vote in the next few days because I have a few days to go here. But my pick as of now
these were already
to win the National League West and to win the World Series is the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Why are you so bullish on them?
I think they addressed their biggest inefficiency deficiency from a year ago, and that was they really struggled against left-handed pitching. And I think they've addressed that, and I think they have the answers to that question. I love their depth of their roster, ultimately their pitching. Urias, who probably might not start the year with the team or in the rotation, certainly I think will become a real weapon for them in the second half of the season. And I just think it's their time.
Is a consistent rotation and behind Kershaw the most important determining factor for the Dodgers in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, look, to be a great regular season team, especially to win a division in 162 games, you better pitch well from a starting rotation standpoint, and I think they will.
This is a team that has shown they can get to the postseason, obviously, consistently year after year. It's how do they win once they get there and get to the big show and the big stage. And I think that's where Dave Roberts comes in. I think this is his, in his second year, I think he really shows the best of what he can do with this team, not only managing it, but also being able to handle the different personalities.
How about Kershaw taking off, and as the throw skips into center field, he's safe at second. So a pitch in the dirt that was right underneath Chirinos, and in a spring training game, Kershaw takes an extra base.
Well, I mean, this is just another part where the Rangers don't play catch. And look, you like the aggressiveness of Kershaw, but he should be a dead out right there. And Chirinos, he doesn't rush the throw. He just makes a bad throw. He gets himself in position knowing he had enough time, but if he plays catch in that situation, Kershaw's an easy second out.
It's scored a wild pitch, and by the letter of the law, that's the way it has to be scored. But as you say, he should have been out at second. It's Michael De Leon who's now in at short, taking over for Andrews for the Rangers. Jeff Bannister can't be happy. It has been a sloppy day for Texas in a number of different respects. He's having himself a really nice day. That's his third hit. Kershaw will stop at third on the single. Well, we talked a little bit about the Dodgers and their prospects heading into the season and the starting rotation. As we mentioned earlier, they used 15 different starting pitchers last year. Kershaw, Maeda, and the re-signed Rich Hill certainly appear to be solid 1, 2, 3. After that, all kinds of different possibilities, including Brandon McCarthy, Alex Wood, who's pitched in the bullpen and in the rotation in his big league career, Hyun-Shin Ryu, who's made only one start in the last 2 years because of shoulder trouble, but he looks good. He's made a couple of good ones right now. May not answer the bell right at the beginning of the season, but will he find his way into the rotation very soon? And Julio Urias, the big question for the youngster, of course, is how much is too much? How many innings will they allow him to get at the big league level? There's Jack Peterson.
I see Ryu as a top 3 in the rotation by season's end. Like that second half, barring injury, which is always the case, especially with Ryu and his track record. But I mean, just watching him this spring and the capability that he has as a pitcher, it looks like he is back to his form 2 years ago. And that's a guy that if he looks like that will enter into the top 3 for this Dodgers rotation, which gets even scarier because now you have Kershaw, and then with Ryu, Hill, Maeda.
Well, and Ryu's got one more start probably in spring to kind of really solidify and make his case. A case he's been making strongly this spring. And then with Urias, we think probably in that 150 inning range, give or take. So if you slow him down the first month and a half, I really think he becomes a frontline pitcher this year. I think he's that good. I think he's that talented. And because they have the depth at the start of the season, they can afford to hold back on some of those innings.
guys remember last year when they were handling Urias, I mean, they were desperate for starting pitching. And so they pushed him to the major leagues probably before they wanted to. Well, now they have a lot of options in the rotation, which allows them to slow him down and maybe target him more toward May than at the beginning of the year and have his innings available at the end of the year in October.
That's best case scenario when you are keeping a pitcher's innings down. Leclerc's all over the place right now. And Odor is going to come in and have a little chat with Leclerc, trying to settle him down. Urias just 20 years of age and certainly showed well in the opportunities he was given last year. Pitched in the postseason last year as well, and remains to be seen not if but when he joins the Dodger rotation and how many innings they allow him to have. It could be such an ongoing story, start by start, week by week, month by month, for guys in this kind of a situation. You know, the manager gets asked about it every single day sometimes.
You live in Toronto. You saw what happened with Aaron Sanchez and the drama that was created last year.
Big cut by Peterson, and he skies one into shallow right field. Kershaw a few steps down the line and then back to third, 2 down.
Well, you remember several years ago, famously, Steven Strasburg, right? And that was the year the Washington Nationals were running away with the division, and they never preserved his innings, knowing there was an innings limit on him. And what did we see? Him not pitching in the postseason, and ultimately they lost in that 5-game series to the Giants with your best pitcher not having gone. That felt like a mistake at the time, and the Dodgers trying to be as smart as they can because they know Urias's talent will allow him to have a major impact on this team, and they'd love to have him available late in the year and hopefully what they think is in the postseason.
Sharp breaking ball in the dirt and blocked by Chirinos. And Leclerc struggling with his command right now. Dodgers are up 7-0, 6th inning.
Just trying to spin that breaking ball down in the zone, but he's really struggled with all of his pitches. And Chirinos working overtime back behind that plate.
Grandal is 0 for 3 today. Now ball disappeared somewhere down there to the crowd down the left field line. Looks like that little guy with the sunglasses had it. Yeah.
And that's something that's been really cool to see. And not that spring games don't get a lot of fans in general, but just driving around Arizona and Florida the last month, and I mean, I know the Giants have sold out almost every single one of their spring games. The Cubs have had huge crowds. And then today, I mean, even in the 6th, as you see starters leave the game, the fans are staying and they're watching and they're enjoying it. I mean, just the airport flying in. I mean, it's packed and the whole entire airplane, everyone's got their ball caps on, whoever their team is. Everyone's talking. I talked to 3 different family members of players that are out here, and they all gravitate towards spring training.
There's a lot to like about spring training. We all enjoy kind of covering it, working hard. It's fun. Everybody's relaxed.
Well, it's how accessible I think these guys are. The intimacy of the stadiums, the fact that you can have players right up to talk to them, get the autographs.
Do you guys mind if I jump in on the division picks in the West?
Go ahead.
Jess, you're out of your mind. Okay. Picking the Dodgers and the Giants to make the playoffs out of the National League West in a division that has so much depth. The Rockies better, the Diamondbacks better. Zach Greinke, his velocity was up again today. A good sign for Arizona. They got A.J. Pollock back. I think that it's going to be a steel cage match in the West, and I think only one team is going to come out. So I praise you for your bravery, but I don't know in the end if you're going to get 2 teams out of the division.
Well, we got it on record now. So come September, Buster, it's on.
So Buster, who is going to make it out of the West?
Dodgers. I agree with you, Booney. I think the depth that they have, the starting pitching that they have. I think the second year of Dave Roberts, you got all the players now buying into the idea of the platoons in a way that I don't think they really did last year.
Who's your World Series pick, Buster, or is it too soon to say?
Cubs and Cleveland in the World Series again.
Rematch.
Indians. My thinking is that no team has a easier path to the postseason, to the World Series potentially than the Indians, because they've got two teams that are rebuilding in their division. Kansas City, Detroit might sell early. Cleveland, also a great team now. Michael Brantley back and looking good.
Tigers don't have one more year in them to make a run at it? You think the window's closing?
I've heard from other teams they really believe that you could see the Tigers sell quickly if they get off to a bad start. And we already saw some of that during the winter. They were talking about J.D. Martinez. They were talking about Ian Kinsler in trade. They may not have the patience to wait it out and see.
Speaking of patience, Yasiel Puig is struggling with his right now. Just chased 2 sliders down and away, each about a foot outside. I'd love to hear the conversation that he's having with himself right now, because this is a pitch that he has struggled with often throughout his major league career, trying to lay off that ball down and away from the right-hander. One of the 3 that he saw, but he comes up empty, and he's gone to end the inning. We're not going anywhere. Momentarily we'll visit with Rick Honeycutt, the pitching coach of the LA Dodgers. We'll talk with him live between innings, get his assessment of Clayton Kershaw and other batters. The Dodgers last year, as mentioned, won the NL West for the 4th year in a row, lost to the Cubs in 6 games in the NLCS. They've got the best pitcher in the game. They've got the Rookie of the Year is quickly turning into one of the best players in the game. They re-signed a lot of guys they had. They brought in Logan Forsythe in a trade with Tampa Bay, and is the X factors we discussed last half inning. Julio Urias, who is just 20 years of age, and how many innings he may be able to give them this year. Well, when you're a pitching coach and you know that every 5 days a guy the magnitude of Kershaw is going out there, that helps you relax a little bit. Kershaw is back on the mound. And we can't blame Rick for this, but Rick may have his game duties may have gotten in the way of him remembering that he had promised to do an interview with us. So
maybe he'll give us the pitch count for Clayton, as he's obviously radioing down to the bullpen and just probably giving Grant Dayton the when he will be in, how many more pitches Kershaw has.
Well, here he comes. Hello, Rick. What are you working today or something? What's going on?
Yeah, a little bit. Just watching some great throwing right here by my good lefty.
You absolutely are. He's sensational to say the least. How's his spring gone overall?
It's been good. I mean, I think when you get to this part of spring, it's you got to really battle the almost the mental fatigue. I think a little bit, but I thought he came out tonight and really pushed through, and so we're looking at his last inning of work here.
Hey, Rick, when you look at kind of the pitch count, was there a certain amount that you were looking at for Kershaw, or was it just a straight 6 innings that you're thinking with him?
No, we kind of, keep building it up. I think you get to this part, we feel like we can build up to 6 and 90, then we know that we can, he can push his first outing during the season, around 100. So this is a good inning, good night of work for him.
Rick, you have the luxury of having so much depth, so many quality options to choose from. How are those conversations going now as you start to finalize your roster to head north?
Yeah, I think it's, guys are making it tough. I mean, with Brandon McCarthy come back throwing good. Alex Wood throwing the ball good. Ryu throwing the ball extremely well. So some of the veteran guys are, really stepping up and putting us in a tough situation.
Rick, we saw on the second pitch of the at-bat a changeup for Kershaw in for a strike. I think he's thrown 4 or 5 of them today. How's that pitch coming along, and whose idea was it for him to start adding in a changeup a bit?
No, he's always had that. I mean, when we had Brad Osmus as a catcher here, geez, back in 2007 or 8, he actually had a no-hitter down in Florida, and he must have thrown 17 changeups that day. And it really, after he really got so good with the slider, I mean, his fastball, curveball, and slider are so good, he really doesn't need it. But he always throws it in his pen, and I think this spring he's actually tried to throw it more, and he has thrown it more this spring.
Rick, Julio Urias, obviously pitchers in Major League Baseball. What at this point is the plan with him, maybe to start the season? Have you finalized those plans?
I think there's a plan definitely in effect. I can't really go into it, but I mean, there's definitely a situation for him that we feel that's best for his future, and I think that it's best for the team. So we need to really watch how we go about that. And I need to tell Bob something. I think you need to go talk to him. It's up to him.
Hey, Rick, go do your thing. We appreciate the time. Thanks very much.
No, I appreciate it, guys. This is a little tough time here. I think he's good. I'm sure he might want to stay one more guy, but I'd really left it up to him.
Well, just so you know, Mike Scioscia last year in a game, or maybe 2 years ago, was talking to us, put the headset down, made a pitching change, came back and put the headset on again. So he set the bar pretty high, just so you know. Thanks for joining us. Have a great season.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Rick Honeycutt, longtime pitching coach for the Dodgers. So up to Kershaw whether or not he stays for the last batter. So obviously he's on the cusp. Maybe the number's 90, but Kershaw had the option of coming out now or staying one more batter, and he's going to stay one more batter.
Up to Kershaw. Do you want to stay in or come out?
Yeah. What do you think you're going to get from that?
That's a layup. And the batter he will face is Jason Martinson, getting his first at bat of the game. Kershaw's gone 5 2/3, given up 2 hits, and he has struck out 10. Safe to say he looks ready for opening day. Martinson sends one to right field. It is carrying and is off the glove of Puig in foul territory.
Yasiel Puig had a long way to go, but the wind keeps carrying this ball further and further, and he's factoring the fence, the warning track, and just takes his eyes off the ball that last second as it continues to carry. Definitely a catchable ball. Puig coming a long way. Missed the opportunity to get Kershaw out of the inning.
Blowing out hard towards right field. Puig couldn't make the catch. Pretty cool moment for a guy called in from the minor league camp to get at bat here in a big league game, and look who's on the mound.
Yeah, and now he's probably going to get that slider or something.
Curveball in the dirt.
Charlie, he spit on it.
Yeah. Swings over the top of that one, though. That will be all in that at bat, and that will be all for Clayton Kershaw this afternoon. And what an outing for him. 6 shutout innings, 11 strikeouts. Rick Honeycutt doing yeoman's work, doing TV and being a pitching coach all at the same time. Junior Home Run Derby allows kids 14 and under to compete for the National Home Run Derby Championship at the 2017 All-Star Game. Sign up today to host a free competition in your local community at jrhrd.com. manager for the Rangers is right-hander R.J. Alvarez as we move to the top of the 7th inning, moving into the evening here in Arizona right now. The Dodgers on the strength of a good day at the plate for Chase Utley, among others, and a terrific outing by Clayton Kershaw. They've got a 7-0 lead. Catch made out in left field. Tolles retired, and Buster Olney is with Clayton Kershaw.
Clayton, looks like they gave him the option to pitch to one more hitter in that inning. What was your thought process?
Yeah, I figured I might as well finish the inning. You know, trying to get your pitch count up there anyway. So, you know, I think Honey said I got right around 90 where I needed to be. So it's a good day's work.
What do you feel like you accomplished today?
You know, up and down 6 times. You know, that's good. And, you know, really, this is kind of my longest one. I'm going to, you know, not throw as long my last outing in spring. And so it was good to get out there for 6 and so you'd be ready for 7 and 8 for opening day.
We saw you mixing some changeups. Where are you with that pitch?
Yeah, they were all pretty terrible today, except for one. I threw one to DeShields. That was okay. But I think I threw the rest of them to Napoli, and they were all terrible. So 1 out of 4 is not a great ratio, but, you know, work on it, see how it goes.
You worked your way back from problems last year, physical problems, really for the first time in your career. What did you learn about yourself through that process?
I didn't learn much other than being on the DL stinks, so I'm going to try and not do that anymore.
Clayton, thanks. Back to you guys.
All right, Buster, thank you.
My changeup was terrible.
I'm going to try to not do that, not be on the DL anymore. Well, if you're a Dodger fan and you watch today, it's got to make you all kinds of excited about the season starting with him on the mound against the Padres in a week and a half.
Although he's a fun guy to follow when he's not pitching in the game. You know, he gets the flip down shades going. He's pretty animated. Looks like he's always having a good time over there, but he is a different animal on the day he pitches, that's for sure. That level of intensity. Is that Eric Gagne he was talking to? Former Dodger closer.
Good changeup. I bet he didn't have too many terrible 1-for-4 changeups in his day.
A guy who actually pitched in the World Baseball Classic
Yeah.
and had not pitched in the majors for what, 4 years, I believe, something like that, and still trying to get back into it. Maybe still trying to get a look. Just a bit outside is the phrase I'm looking for here. Is Alvarez obviously lost the handle on that one.
Yeah, dropped a whoops-a-daisy on us, too.
Yeah, mics are working.
Mics are hot.
Yeah.
Mics are hot, RJ.
Three and one. Just down and away for ball 4. Let's go down to Buster Olney again.
And guys, we're going to have the payoff on the filibuster. We mentioned that we sent out a poll a couple days ago asking folks on Twitter who would you rather have when they were free agent in 2018, Manny Machado or Bryce Harper. Manny Machado 65%, Bryce Harper 35%. By the way, I asked a bunch of evaluators this exact same question last week, and I was surprised. All but one said Manny Machado.
Well, to me, this is a fascinating question. If you had done this poll a year ago at this time, coming off the year that Harper had in 2015, unanimous National League MVP, I think he would have won the poll. I don't think it would have been a rout, but I think he would have won the poll. But now, because of the year that Harper had last year, it kind of feels like a lot of people are saying, okay, so is Bryce Harper that guy? Is he this guy? Is he somewhere in the middle? And you got to believe that Bryce Harper is coming into this year incredibly motivated to get back to where he was in 2015. This is Ike Davis, the batter, as he sends a fly ball into shallow left center. And the inning is over. And the day is over for Clayton Kershaw. Pat on the back from his pitching coach, and a job well done for the best in the game.
MLB.TV Premium is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
I'll work with her on it.
I don't have the baritone of Adam Shulman. I couldn't harness that energy, but.
We go bottom 7 here in surprise. New pitcher for the Dodgers, left-hander Grant Dayton, who as a rookie last year was terrific for LA. 25 appearances at 2.05 ERA.
Yeah, he had a great impact on the second half of the season for the Dodgers. You see those numbers: 39 strikeouts, a 76 WHIP, over 26 innings of work.
Doug Bernier, the batter, sends a fly ball to right field for out #1. Scott Van Slyke out there running it down for the Dodgers. Both teams well into their changes now here as we are in the 7th inning of this game. Scott Van Slyke, another guy the Dodgers are hoping can be completely healthy this year and add another weapon against left-handed pitching.
And they do feel like he is healthy. Figure into that first base mix occasionally against lefties. Obviously played the outfield, but again, a lot of difficult roster decisions coming up for the Dodgers in the next week.
Drew Robinson, who came on as a pinch runner for Mike Apple back in the 4th inning. So Buster showed us the results of the poll. 65% of people saying if they had to choose between Machado and Harper as a free agent, who would they go after? And the answer was Machado. Do you guys agree?
I would go Harper, and here's my rationale. I think Machado is the safer bet because he's such a dynamic defender and he continues to get better and better offensively, and I think he's a potential Hall of Fame type player. That being said, I still believe we're going to get an 8 to 10 year run of Bryce Harper. That'll be the closest thing that we've seen since Bonds of this generation. I think when it's all said and done, he's going to settle in and be in that 400 on base, 600 slugging, 45, 50 home runs. I think he's that. I think his ceiling is that high offensively, and I think eventually he gets there year in and year out.
I'm thinking if I'm a GM of a team right now, or in 2018, it's not like Harper Machado is going to sign a couple-year deal. It's going to be a big, long-term contract. Who's going to be better over the long term? Harper has that potential. I mean, when you look at that, I agree that, yes, he can be that dynamic, game-changing type player. But Manny Machado, and it's not even just that he's stable and consistent. I mean, he can wow you, but you look at his numbers over the years, even through injury, what he's been able to do, not only as a hitter, but defensively at shortstop, at third base, and his swing allows him to continue to do that. If you look at the way that he plays the game, he has the ability to be very consistent and a stud for a very long time.
Dayton with a quick and tidy 1-2-3 inning against the Rangers here in the bottom of the 7th. 7 in the books. I appreciate that, Doug Holmes. Thank you. 7-0 Dodgers.
Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. We've got more afternoon Grapefruit League baseball for you when the Cardinals take on the Mets in Port St. Lucie. Carl Ravitch, Eduardo Perez, Dallas Braden, and Keith Law will be on the call. It's also streaming live, Jess, on the ESPN app. And watch ESPN.
Well done. Dan, I think you're excused for the rest. Booney and I got it.
All right. Who are these people, Jess?
Oh, it's my parents. They drove from California to watch some spring ball. They're big Dodger fans. I told them I didn't think they could get decked out as they normally want to.
They had to pretend to be neutral.
Exactly. I wasn't sure how that worked, but they're sporting the Stanford gear.
They're much less hyper than you are. Like, look at them. They're mellow folks. Like, this is
I'm not
them.
like that?
No. Like, we saw them last night. This is them. They're like cool. They're mellow, and you're like
not mellow.
You're like a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You see my dad coach.
Personality-wise, so you favor your dad,
Oh, yeah.
personality-wise?
I look more like, built like my mom, but my dad, you watch him coach, football and baseball coach. He's got a lot of energy, a lot of passion.
Rob Segedin is the batter for the Dodgers. R.J. Alvarez back after his second inning of work for the Rangers. Segedin spent most of last year at AAA Oklahoma City, hit .319, 21 homers. And having a good spring.
He can hit. He came up and swung the bat pretty well at times with the Dodgers. And he did get called up.
If you're going to be in the Dodger organization, you need to do things like that.
A long way, straightaway center, and well out of here. 8-0.
You know, I'd like to think that the wind helped this ball get out, but I'm not so sure. This is a hanging slider, and you see Segedin let that ball get deep in the hitting zone and just explode those hips. And he drives it out the front door and straight away center. That was a no-doubter off the bat, and he continues to swing a hot bat and trying to force his way into the Dodgers' plans at some point this season. A great spring continues.
And here's another guy who is going to force his way into the Dodgers' plans at some point. This is one of their top young prospects, Cody Bellinger. First baseman, outfielder, lots of power.
Whenever you hear a big name come up in the trade market, and the Dodgers inevitably become one of the teams that talk about maybe getting it, and they certainly have the farm system to do it. Two guys that they've been unwilling to part with are Bellinger, that we're getting a chance to see now, and Julio Urias. And Bellinger, I think at some point this season, I think because he's so talented, really on both sides of the ball, an outstanding defensive first baseman, can play all three of the outfield positions, and can really swing the bat. I think at some point you see him having an impact for the Dodgers in 2017. I think he's that talented and that ready.
Booney, to your point, when you talk with executives with other teams and they talk about the way the Dodgers make trades, they say they will engage on so many ideas and such a range of conversation. But if you ask about any of their best prospects, that's it. They'll shut it down. As a number of executives said to me, Andrew Friedman will not trade his elite prospects. He will keep them to fuel this team.
I mean, interesting because Jose De Leon at one point was on that list, but eventually was traded for Logan Forsythe. Here's Trace Thompson, who certainly has some good moments. He had a real hot stretch at one point for the Dodgers last year, and then had his season cut short by injury. Broke a bone in his back last season, and they're still kind of phasing him back in. He's not playing quite as much as some of the other players in his situation. The brother of Klay Thompson. And another option from the right side, another right-handed bat, more depth in the outfield.
It's amazing. I mean, they really do have within this organization 35, 40 guys that could or should even be on the major league team, and they're just not going to have the room.
Part of the Dodgers management of that, guys, is to have players on their roster who have options to be sent back to the minor leagues. Scott Van Slyke can go down to the minor leagues if they need to. Alex Wood, that can happen. Lots of flexibility.
2-1 on Thompson. Not a bad night. A little bit cool, but for those of us from the north, we're not complaining at all. Not that cool.
With a New York hat too. You think this would be heaven.
To right field, and caught out there for the first out of the inning. Some changes into Major League Baseball this year. There have been some rule changes and also some modifications to the replay system. A lot of this has to do with the same thing, trying to speed up the pace of play, shorten the time of game, and so forth. But in terms of changes with replay, now managers will have to make a decision within 30 seconds whether or not they want to challenge. Until this year, if you were out of challenges, the crew chief could invoke replay beginning in the 7th inning. Now it's only beginning in the 8th inning. And a 2-minute guideline, not a rule, but a guideline to make a decision on a replay. There are certain exceptions. Again, all of this is just trying to speed things up. And I think the bottom one to me is maybe the biggest of the three, because they didn't happen all the time, but we had some 3.5, 4-minute replays. You know, basketball goes through the same thing. I mean, replay is great and they get the call right, but you know, at what point is it just not worth it? Maybe that's wrong to say, but if it takes 3.5, 4.5 minutes, you know, guidelines kind of a fuzzy line, a gray area there, and hopefully everybody's on board with trying to speed up replay.
The World Baseball Classic had a great example of, I think everything was around average, definitely under 2 minutes. And you could just see the decisiveness, even on plays that you had to look a few times and you'd watch it on replay yourself and kind of, okay, was it not? And they were able to make a decision quick. And I'm hoping that carries into the season as far as just, hey, all right, we see it once, we see it twice, third time confirmed, let's do it, not 7, 8, 9 times to make sure.
I mean, some people feel, hey, if you don't know what it is after 2 minutes, then the call stands, because if it's not clear and decisive enough that it takes that long to tell, then you just got to leave it as what it is on the
Well, and it's those handful of ones that happen that really frustrate you. You know, because there's that 30 to 45 to even a minute by the time they get over to the headset, when there's times we felt like, man, they should already know the call, have it ready to go, because they know in New York that, hey, this call is about to be challenged. They should be aware of it. So it definitely needs to be streamlined and sped up a little bit. So these are good steps in helping that along.
And getting it to it quicker with a 30-second now minimum.
I wish
for
it was
manager.
quicker than that. I wish it was naked eye. I want to challenge or I don't.
Me too. No video, no on the phone, just 10 seconds in the dugout. You decide with a naked eye if you want to challenge.
I mean, let's really think about this. 30 seconds, are they, what, 32 seconds, they're going to say sorry? I mean, I feel like there's no, I mean, is there going to be a clock? Like, I want to know how that's going to be exactly implemented. But if it was 10 seconds and 15, it would be an easier, okay, you didn't make the decision, we're moving on.
Yeah.
But 30 leaves that lingering, hold on a second, you know, 28, 29, who's counting?
But this is just the start of some things I think we're going to see in Major League Baseball. Obviously, maybe not this season, but over the next year or two, I think we're going to see a number of things instituted in the game that address some of these pace of play issues that, you know, Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball feels like, and I think we agree with, that they've got to address.
Batter is Austin Barnes, scheduled to be the backup catcher for the Dodgers this year. Well, and this kind of leads us into there's no such thing anymore. There is an intentional walk, but you're not throwing the 4 pitches. And realistically, it's going to make very, very, very little difference in the overall time of game in baseball, because intentional walks just don't happen all that often. It's roughly, I think it's like 0.4 per game of an intentional walk, about 2 intentional walks for every 5 games. That's not going to make a difference, but it kind of feels like baseball is saying to the players, hey guys, changes are coming. We're going to invoke this one unilaterally. If you want in, come to the table, because change is coming. Buster, you've written about this extensively over the last several weeks.
Yeah, and I think you couched it exactly right. And I also think that the players, it would be really good for them to sort of keep an open mind about what Major League Baseball is saying, because they're not saying we're going to force this upon you. Right now their attitude is, hey, if you guys have better ideas than we do, we are all ears. We just want to get to a solution.
But are they also saying come to the table or we will have no choice but to force this on you?
Well, they've waived that. I think that everyone understands that that's a possibility, but I don't think that's something that they necessarily want to do. They really want the players to lead this conversation.
Rob Manfred was at ESPN February the 24th, and among the things he discussed was the process of negotiating changes in baseball with the players, specifically governing the pace of play.
We want a robust dialogue with the players as to the changes that we can agree upon that are going to make the game better for our fans. We know we have an issue with respect to the way the game's evolved, a lack of action, and we want to get to a situation where it's not just the players saying, no, we don't want to do that rule change, but we want to get to the spot where they're saying, no, we don't like that one, but we have an alternative for you that might work.
And that's what a negotiation is. And I hear Rob Manfred, because I credit him to come in and be able to want to change the game, want to really implement some really significant things, but he needs to be able to meet the players who are also voicing their own concerns but aren't coming to the table with any solutions.
To Buster's point, though, if I'm a player, I am, hey, let's get involved in this, because they have a real opportunity to have a giant say in some of the changes that will ultimately be made. And I feel like sometimes right now the players are frustrated and a little upset that they're talking about these changes without consulting them. But I think they're reaching out to try and have the players a part of it, which if I'm a player, I want to say in this. I want to be at the table and be part of the solution.
But is this a generational thing? Especially a lot of older players are saying, you're crazy. How can you change the game like this? How can you do that? They're feeling that baseball is fundamentally changing the game, and that more players could get hurt, or the strategy could change. And is it all worth it to save 7 or 10 minutes during a baseball game? Is there validity to that?
Well, sure, but I think that's part of the conversation. But I think if you're looking at it honestly, I think as a sport, we do have to address some of these issues. You guys, we talk about it all the time. And I tell people all the time, you got us. Yeah. But we're trying to expand. You know, we want to reach out to fans that we don't necessarily have. And more importantly, in 2017, in a fast-paced, social media, instant gratification, we want kids watching and maybe more importantly, playing our sport. That's how you ensure the long-term success of a sport.
And I'll tell you this, I've had a lot of conversations with players this spring, and I found it interesting that I've actually had some say, hey, I'm going to give you an idea. I want you to write about it, but don't put my name on it. I just don't know how to communicate it to the union. For example, an idea when pitchers are in situations they're going to run on a base. Don't make them stop. Let them work. You know, it's been pointed out to me by prominent players that would allow them to speed it up. You wouldn't have the situation where their pitchers are holding the ball and stepping off and throwing over to first so much. I've had pitchers say require the pitchers to face home plate, and when they get the return throw after a pitch, not allowed to walk around the mound. Ideas like that. But the fact that they're not comfortable to have the dialogue internally within the union was a surprise to me.
Scott Van Slyke, the batter. Ryan Slack is the pitcher for the Texas Rangers. Spent last year at AA in the Rangers organization at Frisco. And I think one aspect of the pace of play or the time of games that a lot of people have focused on is visits to the mound, whether it's pitching coaches, managers, catchers, infielders. And again, sometimes you can say, well, this makes sense. Just do this. Just make that change. It's not always that simple. But I know, Aaron, we felt working the playoffs, the entire postseason together for ESPN Radio last year. And we saw during the World Baseball Classic, too, as compelling as a lot of the action was, the visits to the mound, in my opinion, have gotten completely out of hand.
Absolutely. I mean, as great as the World Series was last year, us calling it on radio was such a joy. But I remember Game 2, you know, a 5-1, I think, game is what it was, probably, but it was 4 hours, and so much of it felt like going to the mound, have a conversation every time there's some uncertainty. And I think that needs to change.
And you can do it. I mean, you can just ban them. You can give each team a number of them per game. You can structure it differently depending on if the starter or the reliever is in there. I mean, I think the most important thing, as Rob Manfred has said, is dialogue. You just have to have the right people in the room having the right conversations and coming up with ideas. 2-2.
The players are full of ideas. You go camp to camp and you have this conversation with players, and they'll mention different things, and what you try to say to them is, look, there's no question on the other side, they want to hear all of this. They want to hear all of these ideas.
And there are really two separate issues. In some ways they're connected. Time of game and pace of play are two different issues. The game has changed. There are fewer balls put in play now than there have ever been in baseball history. There are more strikeouts now than there have ever been. And I think the number that I saw is, on average last year, a ball was put in play every 3.5 minutes, which is, I mean, you hear that and you go, no, that can't be right. Then you think about it, how many strikeouts there are, and how much less often the ball is in play than it used to be.
Well, and how many counts are worked to 3-2. I mean, this is a great at bat. This is what every hitter wants to do. They want to work that count, foul off pitches they don't want to hit, get to 6, 7, 9 pitches in a bat.
Ball 4.
Well, the last ball in play was Trace Thompson.
Yep.
Probably 7, 8 minutes ago.
I had a pitcher say to me, this is a prominent pitcher who's been in the game a while, that if you want to talk about speeding up action, then you have to look at how the game has evolved, where hitters are talking about launch angles and trying to hit home runs. But of course, what does that mean? More strikeouts as well. And that has certainly changed the way baseball is played.
Okoye Dixon is the batter.
Okoye Dixon can hit. Another prospect in this organization. You know, kind of at third base, first base, left field. Not necessarily position, but a guy having a nice spring, but a guy that is a really natural hitter.
328 at AAA Oklahoma City last year. Guys in the truck telling us it's 12 minutes since Thompson hit the home run. So since then, a pitching change.
Flew out to right.
Since Thompson flew out to right, I'm sorry. Is that right, guys? Is that what you're saying? 12 minutes since that happened? Wow. So we've had a pitching change and a couple of walks since then. Deep counts. And as I think it was you who said it, Aaron, they got us.
They got us.
This is not us being the grumpy old man.
No.
At least we're not trying to do that. This is us saying, all the kids sitting up on the hill there, we want them to be baseball fans when they get older. 2 down.
But then that's a good sign that they're all going to sit in the same room together. Because ultimately, it's great what Buster said, that they have ideas. It's great that Rob's got ideas, but obviously it's still not connecting in the way that they need to be in the same room, sit down, and actually negotiate those ideas. No, I don't agree with that. But here, I've got 5 more things in that same category that we like as players.
Two down and the bases loaded for Omar Estevez. We'll look at a strike from Ryan Slack. And he pops one up. Foul territory right side. Will it stay playable? It will, and actually get overrun by Robinson.
Well, the wind is not blowing nearly as hard as it's been for most of the day and for much of the game. So you wonder if Robinson just was thinking the wind's going to definitely push this over to the dugout, and it just kind of hangs up there and stays true. But time of night where it's not totally dark. Maybe he lost it there for a second, but
Estevez spent last year in A ball with Great Lakes of the Midwest League, hit .255. Takes down and in, 2 balls, 2 strikes. This will cash in a couple. 2-run single for Estevez. 10-0.
Well, after getting new life there, Estevez comes back from an 0-2 count and has a really nice at bat. Lays off a couple of off-speed pitches to get to 2-2, and then he gets a fastball, and that ball is scalded. Great look from behind home plate there. See that ball sent right back from where it came. And another 2 runs, and now a 10-run lead here for the Dodgers.
And the batter is Drew Jackson. Clayton Kershaw going 6 outstanding innings in this game. Allowed just 2 hits, walked 1, struck out 11. In his next to last spring training start. Told Buster in the interview after he came off the field he might back it down just a little bit in his last start, as a lot of starting pitchers do. They kind of gear down in that last one before gearing back up for their first big league start. Their first regular season start, I should say.
But the work he got in today, getting to that 90 pitch mark, he talked about backing down next, but probably being ready to go 7 or 8 innings potentially on opening day. So right on pace for Clayton Kershaw.
Swing and a miss, and the inning is over. The Dodgers keep adding to their lead. They're up 10-0 as we go to the bottom of the 8th. We call it the 6 with Michael Smith and Jamel Hill. It's sports, music, movies, and more with style and personality. Join the weeknights at 6 Eastern for SportsCenter on ESPN. Also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Nightfall here in Arizona. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Dodgers and Rangers here in Surprise. The new pitcher for the Dodgers is Brandon Morrow. He was certainly had his success in his big league career. He's also dealt with a number of injuries in his career. Started off with Seattle, and at his best years in Toronto with San Diego the last couple of years, and now hoping to crack the staff with the Dodgers.
The stuff has always been there. Mid-90s with that fastball, a cut it, slider, and a change, and he has a real opportunity to make this and be a part of this Dodgers bullpen.
Preston Beck is the batter. He's out in right field right now for the Rangers. Came on a couple of innings ago. Down for a base hit. Long single for Beck to get the inning started. Let's go down to Buster.
The WBC has dominated talk in spring training, but from camp to camp to camp, these are the biggest storylines this spring. First, in the Red Sox camp, David Price goes down with an elbow issue. They do not know when he's going to pitch again. The New York Yankees have had just about a perfect spring training right up to the moment that Didi Gregorius got hurt, but Greg Bird's hit really well. Gleyber Torres, Ian Desmond, newly signed by the Rockies, hit by a pitch. He's going to be out for weeks. Bryce Harper, a big spring. And how about Yoenis Cespedes? Looks like he could lift the Washington Monument, Jess.
Oh, he's already a beast before. Obviously, he was in great shape, but he got after it this offseason. And just the way, not only that he's in shape, but trying new training methods. I mean, you think after you sign a huge deal, a lot of guys let up a little bit. As far as Cespedes, that's not the case at all.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the Katsu bands. I mean, the Halo headphones. We're talking about like brain training that he's doing.
You got in and did some of that with him, right?
Oh, I jumped. I thought I was trying out. Like I jumped in with Cespedes thinking I could squat.
What is
How'd that brain training work out for you?
It's like your brain's on fire. No, it's crazy though. You put on these, it looks like, you know, your Beats by Dre type headphones, like what we're our headset now, right? Okay, so you put these on and it actually sends basically electrical stimulus into the motor cortex of your brain that basically helps you remember, and it works for 90 minutes after. So basically any movement that you're doing or training your body to do, you'll be able to replicate that quicker because of what's being sent. I don't know if that actually works.
So I saw on Twitter or Instagram the pictures of you and Cespedes with those on your. I thought you guys were advertising like some beats
music.
or something.
That's what I thought when I put them on. And then you got to put on the saline solution. It is crazy, you guys, when you think about the technology, not just with the Mets, but a lot of these teams that implement now for these athletes to be in prime shape, but also the training down to your brain, not just squats, guys. It's pretty fun stuff. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but he's pretty good at the squats too. They had a bear squat machine there, and I think these numbers are right, Jess. It max out in terms of weight you can put on it, 990 pounds, and Cespedes did that. They literally couldn't put any more weight on this machine. When I showed up in Mets camp, I had people coming up to me on the team saying, "You are not going to believe how big and strong this guy looks this spring," and we've seen it with the power.
Well, I noticed it in spring. I mean, anytime you watch Yoenis Cespedes take batting practice.
Michael De Leon with a base hit into right.
Anytime you watch him take batting practice, it's impressive. His batting practice stood out of all the camps I've been to. And I've stood around the cage and been watching batting practice all spring long. His has been the most impressive.
That says a
lot. I just walked away going, man, just sound, just how good he looks. He may be primed for even maybe his best season.
Well, and I liked even what he talked about, you know, which is rare for him to kind of go deeper on, you know, what he's feeling, be more open with the media. But he said, you know, I feel like someone finally signed me for a multi-year deal. I get to stay with the team. I mean, think of all the different places that he's been to. And I think that's why he's honed in and getting after it.
Does it ultimately for the Mets come down to if the rotation stays healthy?
Well, Seth Lugo, I mean, watching him last night, he's like 6'7" for them. Yep. I mean, yes, stay healthy, but they don't even need every single one of those guys. I mean, they've created a depth of 7 just very, very successful starting pitchers that they have the ability to maybe lose 1 or 2. Now, you don't want it to be Noah Syndergaard or Jacob deGrom, but.
Fantasy league tip, take Jacob deGrom. I mean, he has come out this spring throwing 96, 97 miles per hour. And because Syndergaard is Syndergaard, and there's so much talk about Harvey and where his velocity's at, I think deGrom has been overshadowed this spring. He has been extraordinary.
I just wrote that down, Buster.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, we're all going to end up in the same league.
Yeah, I thought you didn't need anybody's help to win the pool every year.
Yeah. Booney's prep talk for Dan and I possibly joining his fantasy league was, hey, I don't know if you want to do this because I'm really good.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm with you guys every week, and we're on air, and you know I'm going to talk about it.
Right. And you're insufferable to begin with.
Well, you know, I'm going to be obnoxious about it, and I know. Just thinking of you, thinking ahead of time.
I appreciate that.
You're a giver. 10-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 8th. Opening day of the baseball season is 10 days away. There will be 3 games on Sunday, April the 2nd, before just about everybody else gets going on the third as Jared Hoying strikes out. Second strikeout of the inning for Morrow.
Does Buster have a team? Because I feel like of anyone in this group that could really
a fantasy team
kick Boone's tail.
Are you or have you ever been a fantasy baseball guy, Buster?
The Green Mountain Boys.
Oh.
Okay. There's a legacy there.
It's on.
Wiffle ball is Buster's game. I wonder if we'll get invited out to Casa de Olme this summer to play some wiffle ball. We keep getting threatened with it every year, but
definitely in
crickets.
New York a lot.
It's got to happen this year.
Do you have a hill we can roll down? In case.
I want to see you, Dan, roll down.
Absolutely.
Come on, we're going to be in Little League. That's the best hill.
Yeah, for people who don't know, we are doing a Sunday night game in Williamsport, which is where the Little League World Series is. It's at the same time. Obviously, it's not at a Little League field. They have a minor league field there, and it's what is it, middle of August, towards late August, I guess, and it's a Sunday night game. The Pirates will play the Cardinals, and we'll have a Sunday night game from Williamsport in conjunction with our coverage of the Little League World Series. Cesar Puello rounds out. We're at the end of 8. Top 9. And the new pitcher for the Rangers is right-hander Jay Chapman. Ike Davis is the batter. Davis came up with the Mets, has also played with the Pirates, the A's, and the Yankees as he lines one foul down the right field line.
And just back from the WBC as well,
Yeah.
Team Israel.
Yep. Which surprised a lot of people, got into the second round. Best year for Davis, 32 home runs back in 2012. Drove in 90. Baseball Tonight coming your way next here on ESPN. Carl Ravitch, Tim Kirkjian standing by in the studio.
They're chomping at the bit, Dan, to see you roll down that Williams. So they're veterans there. Timmy's done it now 2 years in a row. Carl's been there a long time.
Well, they're both built a lot lower to the ground than us, so you know it's hard for the big dudes to roll down the hill. The little guys, it's easy.
Especially when you lack agility.
Fair point, but you didn't need to say it on national TV.
Are we gonna like race? We should have like a rolling down the hill race between the three of us.
Jess, that ship has sailed for me.
Or surf on the cardboard. See the cardboard that they have? They go down.
In the air to right. Seguin up for the second time. Rob Seguin hit a home run his first time up as the fun continues up on the hill. You give a kid a ball, a glove, and a hill, and he's good.
Yep.
I've got 2 boys, and under the age of 10, under the age of 8, and anytime we go to a ball game, I always look to see if there is a hill for us to sit, and then I know I'm good.
Swing and a miss, 0-2. Seguin doesn't get cheated, and he hit one a long way his last time up.
Picked on a little hanging slider back in the 8th inning. See him really explode with that lower half and ride it up on that berm out in straightaway center. And kids fighting over a souvenir, but a great spring is being had by Rob Seguin.
He strikes out for out number 2.
Another good look at that swing in slow motion from the side, that big leg kick. But watch the lower half commit, but he keeps that front side in long enough to stay back on that breaking ball, and then you get that good kinetic link, and that's ultimately what power is. He drove that thing about 425 up on the berm and straightaway center.
So 2 down in the inning, and here's Cody Bellinger. Drew a walk in his first plate appearance of the night, came an inning ago. High fly ball left center field, and that's the inning. We go bottom 9 in Surprise with the Dodgers in command.
He is the Santino.
Swing and a miss, and it's gone. Forget it. Home run, fifth finish.
Swung on and missed, strike 3. What a play. It was over the fence.
Here's a look at the triple header coming your way. The first 3 games of the season can all be seen on the ESPN family of networks on Sunday the 2nd, and then 4 games on the Monday, including the Dodgers opening up against the Padres 4 Eastern 1 local. And that's how he feels about that. He knows Kershaw's on the mound. He's feeling good about that. He doesn't have to do laundry on that shirt. He's good with that. He's having a good day. We're having a good day. He's having a better day.
Fruit punch, maybe some cotton candy, a lot of sugar.
Yeah. And Brandon Morrow back for his 2nd inning of work. Kershaw went 6, struck out 11. Dayton the 3 up, 3 down 7th. Morrow gave up a couple of hits in the 8th, back out there for the 9th. Yes, he did. A ball and a strike. So, Aaron, living here, you get a chance to visit camps. You've been around to most. You're still checking out more camps between now and opening day. Is that a day in the life of Aaron Boone?
Yeah. In fact, I got to cram a little this last week. So I want to go see the Cubs one more time since we've got them on opening day. So I'll be out there. I might go out there tomorrow, but if I don't next week, yeah, I got 3 or 4 more I got to see.
Under the glove of Jackson into left field, and Martinson is aboard to begin the inning.
You know, we talk all the time about just how valuable this time of year is for us to just be able to go and watch batting practice and casually just strike up conversations. We learn so much about these teams and about the players this time of year. It's an exciting time, and I know these players are chomping at the bit to get going for real.
Longer spring training than normal because of the WBC. Probably what, 7 to 10 days longer? It feels like maybe,
and especially as a position player, it always felt long, and you couldn't wait to finally. All right, it's time to go. Well, now you add another week, 10 days. It's especially long this year.
We saw the Rockies yesterday. Got a chance to check them out. And they've had some injuries, and sending our best to Chad Bettis, unfortunately, who is now battling cancer again, hoping for a speedy and full recovery for him. Ian Desmond suffering an injury as well. But a lot of people kind of looking at the Rockies and saying, you know, a lot of talent on that team. They could make some noise this year.
Great talent. Position player wise, you know, they match up with just about anyone in Major League Baseball, really on both sides of the ball. Excellent defensively, obviously great offensive club, but it's just a matter of they've now accumulated a lot of young talent on the mound. Can that talent flourish, especially at Coors Field?
The quarter-century long question for that franchise.
Right. And flourish is all relative. You don't have to flourish like you do other places, but you know.
Doug Bernier is the batter. And a strike, 2-2. We had a chance to visit the Indians were the opponent for the Rockies yesterday, so we had a chance to visit with Terry Francona, their manager, and boy, they're just hoping Michael Brantley, and starting to look better and better, more and more hopeful as they get one but not two. You know, if they can get Brantley. Now on the other side, it seems like every team's got a flip side of the coin, but now Kipnis is going to be out for probably the first 2-3 weeks of the season, it sounds like.
But on paper, the Indians, and as Buster we talked about earlier, they seem to have the easiest path on paper to the postseason, and they seem on paper to maybe be a better club this year, which is scary.
Well, are there going to be any repercussions with what they did in the postseason with their pitchers? I mean, will there be a little bit of a lull for Corey Kluber? I mean, Cody Allen, I mean, that didn't get talked about a lot, but how much they utilized him, Andrew Miller. Huge pieces.
And Miller pitching in the WBC as well. Joe Broussard is into the game now for the Dodgers. We'll step aside and bring you right back here for the rest of the bottom of the ninth after this. Hitter Joe Broussard is into the game. Spent the majority of his season last year at AA, where he had a 1.93 ERA and 33 appearances. Those are his combined numbers from 3 different levels in the Dodgers organization. Drew Robinson is the batter. Runner at first, 1 out, bottom 9. 10-0 Dodgers. First pitch swinging. This ball is drilled deep.
Was looking first pitch inside. He just sits on this pitch, gets his barrel out early, and is able to really crank not just with his lower half, but just sitting the entire time. That's when you can tell a guy's come up to the plate with an approach, a plan, cut the plate in half, find which side you want, and they bring it. 4th
home run this spring. He hit 20 at AAA Round Rock last year.
That ball was pummeled.
Yep.
That wind has gone away. That was with us most of the day. It's pretty much stopped now.
Checked it. A foul ball down the third baseline. The count remains 1-2. Ooh. Oh. The world is a cruel place sometimes. I think if the kid's wearing a Ranger shirt, he gets another crack at it. But he was wearing a Dodger shirt. You only get one crack at it on the road.
You know what? I like their attitude, their body language, though.
Yeah.
They realize, gosh, we missed our chance.
Yep.
But you never know.
Hunker down, get back to work.
Exactly.
Yep.
Let's go.
Two down. Well, big story today, I guess, if you're looking at this game, was the work of Clayton Kershaw tuning up his second last start before opening day. 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. Looking like like mid-season Clayton Kershaw, which is not a good sign for the rest of the National League West.
Yeah, the fact that, you know, especially after missing some time last year with the injury, to just be healthy and looking strong and looking like Clayton Kershaw as they get ready to start the season, I think is a great sign. And even though the Rangers had a rough day and didn't put their best foot forward, them getting all their players back now from the WBC.
Deep but playable in center field, and that's your ball game. Behind Kershaw and some hot bats, the Dodgers beat the Rangers 10-2 here tonight in Surprise. Don't forget, opening day is only 10 days away. 3 games on the ESPN family of networks on the opening day Sunday, April 2nd. For Aaron, Jess, and Buster, I'm Dan Shulman saying so long from Surprise. Thanks for watching. Baseball Tonight is next.